3 years of the Jisa era Kyoto. But then suddenly in front of our hero there was an explosion of scarlet skies. He just looked closer and thought about what? He didn't understand where this unpleasant feeling came from, because when he looked up, he saw that he had been fooled. That meant they lured him here. Onmaji clan Tamaman, our hero, I looked and asked what he owes such an honor. But what the man said was that today they would destroy him. And then everything from the clans began to summon seals of summoning to limit spiritual energy. And our hero realized that they had sealed him with Shikigami, spirits of servants. They also decided to limit his spiritual energy. Realizing that they had carefully prepared and was even a little flattered. To which one of the men said that they didn't tell him to start it because he wouldn't leave here alive anyway. But our hero was curious why he was going to be destroyed. And the man said that it was obvious because he was simply too strong. Since he alone is capable of defeating any evil spirit, and this is a strength like a bone in the throat for the Tamaman clan. But now our hero understood perfectly well, because he also knew that they were afraid of him. And already a large number of people began to attack our hero. He understands perfectly well that his strongest Shikigami was sealed and severe restrictions were placed on spiritual energy. And to fight against hundreds of elite Onmaji, this is obviously an option for him, but he will still continue to fight to the last drop. Therefore, having prepared, he only invited them to begin. After all, everyone will get it in full. And literally a moment later, no one understood. Should he now be no stronger than the average Onmaji? After all, where does he still have so much power? But in fact, he could still be called alive now because he could still move one arm. He still realized that it seemed he had lost, so no matter how much it infuriated him, he would have to use extreme measures. So he immediately said the word reincarnation. And everyone understood perfectly well that this was a forbidden technique, but no one understood why he still had enough spiritual energy for this. But for our hero it was not a bad life. The next life will be much better than the previous ones. And literally a moment later our hero, I woke up, looking at my body and realizing that he no longer had a wound and also his appearance had changed. And he understood that everything happened very successfully. Reincarnation flashed through his mind. And our hero understood what it means in this world that spiritual energy is called magic. And in all likelihood, his current position in the world leaves much to be desired. Our hero's new name was Ian Granado, third child of the Granado family. And he understands that the day of the entrance exam to the Elsella Magic Academy is approaching. But he has such a lousy reputation that no one even thinks that he can pass this exam, and this is all because. But our hero's body was completely destroyed, his talent for magic, or rather, his magical powers are not enough for even the simplest spell. Because of this, Ian had a lot of difficulties. And after a while he understood how things were now. After all, at some point, he even understood too well, since he has one assumption, Yan's magical power is 0. And he also had a huge supply of spiritual energy with which he used the Onmito spell. But in this world, nothing is known about this type of energy, not to mention using it somewhere, and it is quite possible that he reincarnated into Yen, because he secretly has a huge reserve of this energy. I perfectly understood that it all sounded very ridiculous, although for someone like him who was nicknamed the strongest ever born, nothing is impossible. And only for this reason they started hunting him. But still, some pieces of memory were too blurry, and it was necessary to check what was going on in the world now. And already from time on, our hero, I very carefully read all the possible books that he could get his hands on. You understand that he really seems to have found himself in a completely different world, since the culture and ecosystem are completely different from the previous one. But besides, the biggest problem will be from the monster. After all, they are somewhat similar to the Ekov from his previous world, and every year a huge number of people are attacked by monsters, and the territory of Granado is no exception. However, there is no information about spiritual energy and technology and uses magic against monsters, and this is a very popular method. And our hero understood that, apparently, nothing is really known in this world, and about spiritual energy, not about Onmaji, but since this is the case, most likely the locals will be a little shocked by his new powers. Since in a past life he hid in the shadows, and behind this same shadow he protected people. But only because he did it, and that's why they destroyed him. He made the decision that, in this world, he would shine and live in the light of the sun, not in pitch darkness. Since past regrets will remain in the past no matter how you look, and in the last battle they closed all their debts to each other, and he will not allow the same tragedy to happen in this world. And for this, first of all, he needed to do everything possible, but then suddenly someone entered the room. Call our hero a small insect. The guy immediately asked, did he make the final decision? Since if he fails to enter the Alcel Magic Academy, then he will be from the lands of Granado. And this is tantamount to being expelled from high society, so his life will not be as sweet as it is now. It was the older brothers Harold and Dean. Two older brothers who always hated him. They immediately began to say that the father left a will that was too absurd. It was absurd to give the reins of government to the family into the hands of the youngest child of a loser. The second also noticed that this was simply unthinkable. Therefore, it would be better to enter the academy if he simply appointed his successor and resigned. He immediately said that he should not misunderstand his small insect. We are a hero. I understood why his father appointed him the head of the family, because only he would have the answer to this. Since the father told our hero that he wants to entrust him with the future of the Granado family. To which our hero said that he was only the third son. But what the man said is that such a small territory does not need not muscles but brains, and he is smart beyond his years, and he wants his wisdom to become the support of the family. Even if he inherits the title, no one will listen to him. Therefore, our hero would like to give this role to someone with a more stable position, saying that Dean and Harold are too selfish and are not suitable for the role of head. But then the father told our hero that it would be hard, but he was sure that he could handle it. To which he, in turn, replied, yes, he will be sure that he will lead the Granado family. And that same night my father died. In other words, he needs to get into the Alcel Magic Academy so that these two older brothers will begin to obey him. Since his father really drove him into a juicy situation, this could be his chance. To which one of the brothers turned to our hero and asking about this, he listens, not Gil no. To which the boy replied that he is listening. They say that his answer will be this, since he will enter the Alcel Magic Academy, and will inherit the title of head and will rule this territory. But as soon as the guys heard this, they couldn't believe their shamba and asked to repeat it again. And our hero replied that he would tell them as much as needed, because he would enter the Magic Academy and he would inherit the title of head and would rule this territory. The guys immediately started laughing, but I thought that maybe this was some kind of joke. After all, he can bet on whether he will pass the exam or not. What do they think about this? I said that he will anyway, so what can he bet? And our hero replied that he would give the inheritance that he got from his father, because she would give them all this jewelry and weapons. However, if he passes their replacement, then they will be his brothers expelled from the lands of Granado. They immediately became interested and said that he would not pass it in any case. After all, he no longer had magical power. Looking at the guy, they immediately began to talk about the fact that he decided to dig his own grave. To which she, the hero, just laughed and said that they would find out about this 3 days after the exam. And leaving the room, they immediately said that they were waiting and would not wait for this moment. Our hero understood that the guy was accepted, but I was thinking that they want to do some mischief. After all, be that as it may, if something goes wrong, he will correct it with the Onmito technique. Since now first of all we need to begin their resurrection. And now our hero wanted to test his Onmito skill in practice. Omendo is a technique that activates by chanting matter that draws out his spiritual energy and uses Katashiro paper dolls as a catalyst. After all, in this world it is most closely similar to magic, which is activated when a person uses his magical power and he has no magical power, but spiritual energy still bubbles in his body. And perhaps these types of energy are radically opposite, like fire and ice. And whatever technique he used was very difficult to choose, but then someone turned to our hero calling him master. And our hero recognized this voice, thinking that it was Kijin. To which they immediately answered that this was exactly how they expected him to awaken. And our hero realized that they had moved into this world and just like him, because he said Mr. Yang, and how quickly he got his bearings. After all, no matter what happens, he alone has the right to be their master. Besides him, 12 divine generals in Shigami, also in integrity and safety. It was clear to our hero that he was the divine king and decided to speak to him on their behalf, receiving the answer that he was absolutely right. And he is glad that even after reincarnation he will serve him, to which he received an answer that it is an honor for him. But there is no better reason to try Wanamido, because now he is. Calls him here and now. He also said that he summons the 12 divine Shikigami generals. And 12 divine rank generals are ranked as the highest Shikigami. And in other words, these are his strongest servants. And they all appeared in front of our hero. He thought that it seemed the technique worked in this world, and it was already good that he could calmly summon Shikigami. But then suddenly some spirits began to fly by and the guy thought a little and immediately understood. After all, this meant that the body was not yet capable of releasing enough spirits but its energy to support 12 Shikigami at a time. Of the remaining ones he has the Kijin, Suzaku and of course Dayan. The three of them literally knelt before our hero. And then the girl immediately turned to our hero saying that a lot of time had passed since his last meeting. That was Kinji's nobility. And also the guy turned to our hero. They say that his awakening is incredible happiness for them. It was Sujako Scarlet Sparrow. And of course, the girl said that he was even more charming than he was before, because he was studying the spirit of youth and that was Dane's great secret. But then one of the girls turned around and said that it was rude, but the girls don't understand what we read talking about because she made a compliment. But our hero was glad that they had not changed at all. They were not just meetings. But still they were very interested in why exactly they retained their shape. To which the guy said that it was obvious, because among the 12 divine generals they were chosen for narrowing. They immediately thought that they were the chosen 3. But our hero said that it was just an accident. Drinking his spiritual energy will increase even more, and when this happens, he will be able to maintain the form of all Shikigami as long as his heart desires, and until that moment he will have to be patient. And the girl asked to accept her gratitude, and our hero, after all, the rest of the Shikigami were also happy to hear this. But the girl also continued to say that it seems that everyone will soon have an exam that will allow him to become the head of the house, and our hero said that everything is right, we need to start with this. Saying that these trash brothers are saying that he wants to quickly take a look at their faces, and the servants immediately began to say that they understand him because they want to send them to hell. They say that they will soon get the hang of it all, but still, to enter the Magic Academy they only need a passing grade. The trio began to say that this was very cool, because as I expected from Mr. N, they had not been called up for more fun for so long. Speaking about these brothers, the girl asked if he was sure that they would so calmly accept defeat and agree to exile without any resistance. To which our hero said that he wouldn't have come to them even in a nightmare, what he did himself, because most likely they were a scandal, but now it didn't matter. Since what is more important is that after enrolling, he is obliged to get rid of the image of a loser incapable of magic as soon as possible. But the girl also noticed that this is true, but now the assessment of the gentleman among those around him is extremely low. But they didn't understand whether their opinion was so important so that they didn't think, wasn't he, in a past life, the greatest onmaji of all time? To which our hero, I said that's true, but still there's no point in it. It's not enough for him now. Since in a past life he never appeared in public and the action was from the shadows and he is indeed completely free and did not belong to any of the factions and so became a white-eye for the Tamaman house. And as a result, they decided to just get rid of everything from him and everyone recognizes him as the strongest and then no one dared to attack him again because his goal is to become the greatest ruler along with his comrades. The Trinity immediately began to understand and they thought this was a wonderful idea. Saying that because of this they are almost masters, to which the guy confirmed that this is true, because just imagining their idea is already exciting. But our hero immediately turned to the girl and said that she also needed to try to pass the entrance exam, but the girl did not yet understand why. To which he said that he would be calmer if at least one Shikigami helps him, because with her help he wants to take first place. But another girl said that it was dishonest to ask for only such a Kinji. Because among the 12 divine generals, she is the smartest. And our hero, I asked Dana to come to terms with this. But the girl immediately said that she understood our hero and she would be happy to help the gentleman with this. Well, the guy also didn't understand that although the parts related to practical magic would not be able to come because they were similar to Onmito techniques, would they also be able to imitate the local students and pass the written test? The girl also thought about this. The guy asked a good question. To which our hero said that since Shikigami sleep is not needed, if they take a break from studying for the remaining 3 days, the problem will be solved. To which the guys immediately laughed and said to the girls, "Good luck, because it's written on her face how much she hates studying." To which our hero said that now it's okay if he transfers all the energy to Kinji in order to stably maintain its form? Well, the guys immediately smiled and said that of course he could do it. Our hero understood that this was a great invitation to the girl to try very hard. But the girl immediately clenched her fists and said that he could rely on her because she would not let him down. And the very next day I was walking along the corridor that the maid thought that the next room was Mr. Yan's. But as soon as she opened the doors to the room, the video in front of her surprised her a little because there was a book literally hanging in the air in front of her, which really shocked me, and of course she ran away. To which the girl told our hero that this technique always causes a stir, the technique of overlaying transparency. And several days have already passed, the day of the entrance exam has arrived and right now they are leaving the territory of the Granado family and heading to the capital of the kingdom of Alcela. Our hero imposed transparency on the girl because among the rumors in the mansion, rumors about a floating pen and paper began to spread, but no one took these rumors to heart. Well, then our hero felt something, because 3 kilometers from here there was a large source of magical power. He immediately thought that it might be monsters. And the girl immediately asked our hero if it was necessary to get rid of them? To which our hero replied that there is no need to do this yet, because she needs to do as much as possible. Well, the girl replied that she understood immediately using movement in space. Our hero, by the beginning of the exam, he began to better understand the nature of magic and magical powers. Since there are practically no magical powers in his body, and how did this become clear? After all, I learned to determine the approximate amount of magical powers in living beings by looking at a Class A monster, Chimera. Speaking of the fact that perhaps he was studying here for prey, but how lucky for our hero because he could use some warm-up before the exam. And he immediately launched an attack against the monster. Using the ability of a spiral of raging flames, he attacked the monster. And why did he literally turn into dust? To which our hero, turning around, very confidently, simply said that something like this. And the girl immediately thanked our hero for his help and asked how it all went. And our hero replied that his magic power was higher than that of the local monsters and yet it was very disappointing, but however, the girl, I expected this from the master. And literally a moment later OS cart stopped and our hero asked what happened. To which the driver replied that nothing happened. The chimera just lies ahead. Moreover, she was not only destroyed, she was also charred, thinking that this was clearly the work of some powerful person, to which our hero also asked with indignation who it could be. Soon after, they arrived in the capital of the kingdom of Alcela. Since the exam for admission to the Magic Academy is the same for everyone, regardless of status. And also a huge number of people from all over the continent take the exam. Only real talents can enter, and our hero, when he came out, imposed transparency on the girl. Well, then someone suddenly came out asking everyone to make way immediately. But then he saw our hero saying who this is, after all, it's not the great talented Granado himself young? Speaking of the fact that he is a failure in magic and will be immediately eliminated because he came to make himself a clown? But our hero, having listened to only raised his hand and did not give anything to say or do to the girl. Turning around, our hero only spoke. Isn't this the famous Mr. Simon to whom everything is presented to his parents? After all, during the entrance exam they want to be able to help him in any way, so our hero, I asked him to please be more careful, otherwise he will become a clown. Well, apparently the guy got angry asking how was he acting as a scumbag. Asking if he wanted to go to the exam without a hand? But then a voice was suddenly heard that told them to stop immediately. The girl came out and said that the conflict between the examinees was prohibited. After all, if he continued in the same spirit, she would not hesitate to take measures against it. The guy didn't understand that things would be bad, and he also turned around and began to leave. But still he also noticed to our hero that he would remember this again. To which our hero, I just looked and didn't answer anything. But then the girl asked our hero if everything was okay. He replied that it was all thanks to her. I think her name is Sophie? And looking at the girl, our hero understood that she was the eldest daughter of Count Norbert, one of the 7 great aristocratic houses. She immediately told our hero that he better not provoke him too much. After all, doesn't he know how he will replace his terrible behavior? To which our hero just simply laughed and said, "It's just like that, and thanks for the advice." But the girl was surprised by this. They say that the atmosphere around him somehow changed. To which our hero, I just looked intently at the girl and said nothing. To which she, in turn, said that he should forget about what she said. And she immediately turned around and began to walk towards the building away from our hero. And he thought about her words about the atmosphere, thinking that it definitely had to change quite a bit, but still this change was very noticeable. But also one of the girls told our hero that there are too many hooligans, asking the guy if she should get rid of them. To which our hero replied that she says such dangerous things with such a calm face. But the girl also noticed that she was talking about this quite seriously. But the guy also said that for some time everyone will treat them like that, so she shouldn't overreact like that. After all, the entrance exam begins, and all those replacing them were asked to go to the place where the entrance exams to the Magic Academy are being held. It consists of 3 parts, a written test, a magic test, and a practice test. And at this time our hero had already approached the place where he was supposed to sit. And everyone who was going to conduct exams also began to gather in the rooms. Well, the girl also brought her place and sat down at the desk. But then our hero, I contacted the girl. They say that when the exam comes to an end, he will give her his answers, and this is how they make up the answers to each other. To which the girl asked, lowering her eyes, "Has our hero ever had such a need for her training?" To which our hero replied that it never hurts to be on the safe side, and the girl noticed that he was right. But besides, even if they give the correct answers, they still need to write a detailed explanation, and the girl began to understand why she studied so hard. Now they were asked to start the written test. Not our hero, as soon as he heard about the written test, he even thought a little about what. He feels that the written test has a lot of questions on the technical aspects of Magic X, although he understands the theoretical side of magic well. From the technical side, he studied it only superficially, so some of these questions are incomprehensible to him, but fortunately most of the questions are still devoted to theory. If he answers all the theory questions correctly, he will earn decent points. And literally after a while the written test was over. And our hero told the girl that he corrected some of her answers in her test because they were wrong, so she shouldn't worry. The girl just asked for forgiveness for causing him inconvenience, but the guy noticed that it was nothing after all. She had been studying hard for the last 3 days, and it was not surprising that she was exhausted. But he also asked that the next one would be a demonstration test, and it would be better for them not to show the full potential of the Onmito technique. To which the girl agreed, saying that she would definitely meet his expectations placed on her, and our hero replied that he couldn't wait. And the demonstration test has already begun. I was one of the guys who used the flame with the tan arrow that the fire arrow flies. The essence of the demonstration test is to hit the target, and all the examinee needs is to activate the magic that they understand best. And the guy released his arrow and hit it exactly in the center. And apparently our hero, I noticed that the guy was glad that he was able to get in. After all, our hero, I just thought that their level was lower than he expected, and he would have to further reduce the amount of spiritual energy when firing. But then the same guy came up again, telling our hero that it is time for him to get out of here. Doesn't he think so? Since he won't even be able to simply activate magic. To which our hero, I told him not to think that he is still the same old Ian, because otherwise his words could come back to haunt him dearly. The guy, of course, got angry at this. I asked him who he thought he was that was talking to him like that. But here for the test it was that guy. To our hero, so that he looks carefully and says that this is the difference between them. Why did the girl just think about how dare this trash compare himself to the master? To which our hero only asked the girl not to express herself and she asked for forgiveness. But our hero noticed that she should not worry because very soon he would see the difference between them. I also note that she should not overdo it on this test and shoot with approximately the same force as he, to which the girl said that he can rely on her. Meanwhile, the guy used a pierce attack. And so to him. And so, of course, it hit the target. But the other participants thought that this was a high-speed spell. After all, what would be expected from Simon and the Patridge family? Video about how he got it, he immediately laughed. They say that it's as easy as shelling pears. Our hero noticed that he had fairly good accuracy and concentration of the blow because it happened better than he expected. But they already said that our hero should be tested next. And going to the position, the guy only said to our hero whether he saw it right, because that's the difference between them. Well, our hero understands that, unlike magic, the Onmito technique cannot be used without Katashiro, so he hit it securely in advance since the shot should be a little stronger than Samon's shot. And besides, it wouldn't hurt to imitate the pronunciation of a speed spell. To which our hero just cast a spell like a fireball. And then, literally like a bullet, the ball flew out exactly at the target. But apparently, due to such a strong explosion, our hero even overdid it a little. In principle, as expected, he himself understood this perfectly well since he saw what he did. But besides, everyone around them was very shocked. After all, they didn't understand how this was possible and what it was. But that our hero only said to his face that it seems that he has slightly lost control over spiritual energy, since it is still difficult for him to fully control his new body. But then a guy suddenly jumped out, pointing his hand. I said in the direction of our hero that he doesn't have a drop of magical powers, so how could he create such a powerful spell? But then everyone suddenly began to whisper, saying that this is the same Ian, from the Granato family, who has no magical powers? But they didn't understand how he managed such a spell if he didn't have magical powers, because it turns out the guy was talking about cheating. But then suddenly one of the exam takers asked for silence, saying that the academy will conduct an investigation based on the records, conducting all tests and identifying all cases of cheating, but only after the end of the exam, because the next one should speak is Kinjin. Our hero heard this, but I just thought that maybe they would leave him alone for now. But the guy continued to tell our hero that she might have managed to cheat on the demonstration test, but I don't think it would work on the practical test. And as soon as our hero, I began to think that, at best, without having time to think it through, another explosion occurred behind his back. It was a shot from a girl who immediately told our hero that, as he had ordered, her shot was approximately equal in strength to his, and everyone was just as shocked because I didn't understand how this was possible. And our hero at that moment completely forgot about the fact that he had to stop the girl. That's why he immediately said that she was great. Guys, there was no limit, since in addition to the fact that I was able to outdo our hero in the test, there was also a girl. And literally a few minutes later the practical test began. The essence of the practical test was a battle between the examinees, and each battle lasts 3 minutes, and each participant has only one attempt. And that was all that everyone was capable of. Moreover, by the way, on the practical test, consider the factors of victory or defeat of opponents. Well, the guy approaches our hero, smiling and asking him if he knows who his opponent is. And already at that moment a voice was heard that Simon was coming out next. Patridge and Ian Granato, they need to get ready to fight. To which the guy said that he asked the academy for a small favor, they put him as an opponent, to which our hero thought that is indeed this considered cheating? To which the guy said that he might be mistaken, because in his opinion this is a triumph of justice where he will reveal his deception, because no matter how you look at it, there is only one villain. To which the guy said that he could even scream cheating at the top of his lungs because no one would believe him. Think about the fact that there is such a difference between their families, even though he passed the demonstration test, but now he only faces shame at his hands in front of a whole crowd. But what our hero said about being in his place was not so confident in this, because he thinks that he will be able to do something against him. And of course this made him angry. He immediately said that he was very enraged by his conversations. After all, he would break all his bones. And they had already reached the center of the Maidan where the battles took place. And one of the judges raised his hand and said that let the fight begin. And of course, a guy immediately rushed to attack towards our hero using the explosion technique. And then a fairly large fireball flew towards our hero. And he just thought about who else was using magic crystals, because now he was wondering which of them was still a swindler. But then he would not restrain his powers, using his skill such as Great Ice Barrier, which in turn was able to easily stop the fireball and literally destroy it into pieces. But the guy, looking at this, could not understand how this was possible. But our hero, I just became quite imposing and slowly walked towards the guy who was sitting at that moment. But apparently he was very frightened, so he began to shout at our hero so that he would not approach the monster. But he, in turn, came up and only touched his cheek with his hand and said that he should take a little nap, using a skill such as Weaver's Curse. Why did the guy literally fall unconscious in an instant? To which the court immediately had to say that the fight was over. Imagine the winner as Jan. Well, then one of the spectators suddenly picked up a ball that rolled out of the guy's hand. He immediately said that Simon Patridge is involved in a scam. And now his participation in the entrance exam will be completely cancelled. And as soon as our hero went down the stairs, everyone began to discuss the fact that he really wanted to become the first in this exam, because it turns out that Ian honestly won this test. But then the girl looked at our heroes with a very intent gaze, saying that he performed excellently, since this rude person was able to feel the real difference between them. To which our hero answered satisfactorily that both were true. And they also say that the girl should act the same way as in the demonstration test, focusing on her level when using the technique, but it will be even better for her if her attacks are a little weaker. The girl joyfully exclaimed that she understood him. After all, he can rely on her completely. But still our hero. I understood perfectly well that he had vague doubts about this. And in just a moment the girl was able to defeat her opponent. And behind her back I had quite strong permissions. To which our hero smiles, he understood that it would happen just as he thought, and with this the entrance exam came to its end. And after a while we were shown the director of the academy who looked very thoughtfully. Since he had our hero's profile in his hands and he thought that he was able to create spells unknown to anyone and at the same time not have a single gram of magical powers, and besides, there was no evidence that he was cheating. On his part, on the contrary, he figured out the other scammer underscore. To which he only laughed a little and said that he was quite an interesting specimen. And besides, he needs to talk to him personally. And already 3 days after the entrance exam, our hero again found himself at the Elsella Academy. Walking along the corridor, he was just thinking why he alone was invited to a personal conversation. At the same time, Qin Jin did not receive such an invitation, but he did. Opening the office, our hero only asked for forgiveness for the disturbance. To which the man only told her that he must be Yang. Well, the man introduced himself as the director of the academy, Rollo. To which I was surprised by our hero, since he is the director of the Magic Academy and the strongest magician of the Kingdom of Elsella, Rollo Vistav. As he is the creator of more than 100 magical spells and was known as the father of modern magic. He is one of the strongest and greatest magicians. It seems something like this, but our hero didn't know, because he would have taken him for a good-natured old man. But the man turns to our hero and asked for forgiveness for making him trudge so far, but he was eager to learn more about his magic. To which our hero I thought, because it would be more accurate to say it was not magic, but it was the Onmito technique, but he did not yet understand what he should do in this situation. To which the man said that he thought that it was not magic at all. And our hero understood perfectly well that this old man was not so simple. After all, he believed that he had no chance of hiding the Onmito technique from the eyes of the greatest wizard of the kingdom. But our hero understood perfectly well that they were planning to always hide them, and he thought it was the right moment. Saying that he is indeed right since he cannot use magic since he has no magical power. But here our hero, I spoke sharply about what he uses. It was the Onmito technique. To which the man thought because he had never heard of such a technique. Well, our hero said that he didn't hear everything because it was his personal invention. But what would a man be surprised to hear a personal invention asking at such a young age? Besides, he wanted him to let him get down to business. To which the man and our hero are older. The man began to use magic and they were literally in a moment to the site where the battle took place last time. And our hero, I thought that this was a spatial transfer of two people at a time and even without pronouncing the spell out loud. But the man just laughed and said that it was all very simple. Talking about the magic that he showed in the practical test, but then abruptly interrupting himself, saying that it would be more correct to say the Onmito technique, would he show it to him? To which our hero thought that if this is only the case then why not? And the man also said whether he would go to the Magic Academy or not, it would depend only on him and on what he would show him. And our hero understood that it seemed that the fourth entrance test had just been imposed on him. Thinking that although he is considered the strongest magician in the kingdom, he is already quite old and he repeats not to hurt him using the Onmito technique. But then suddenly our hero noticed an attack from a man. Although he managed to put up a defense and reflect all the blows. But the man was surprised that he put up a barrier and our hero asked why he started attacking so suddenly? Well, the man said that he was too relaxed, so he decided to cheer him up a little and he shouldn't think that he is an ordinary old man because he needs to give it his all. And our hero understood perfectly well that it was time for P to show him his Onmito technique. And the man understood that he had instantly created a protective barrier around himself. I thought that he was a terrifying young man, but he had not even attacked yet and he felt his opinion like a small child. To which our hero just said that he is the strongest, greatest wizard and asks if this is true. Because now he understands that he has the title for a reason, because he will show it to him. How serious he is about this regarding his Onmito technique. Using the absolute phantom flame spell. Our hero, I literally made an attack towards the man, sparing no effort. And looking at the man's eyes it was clear that this was his attack. But still after the powerful explosion that occurred. Manas stood on the sidelines, chuckling, saying that it was very dangerous because it is unlikely that everyone would be able to dodge something like that. But our hero understood perfectly well that he was much stronger than any Meiji from the Tamaman clan. Since this world is not as simple as it seemed to him before. But the man was also interested in talking about how he managed this power that was locked inside. To which our hero, I said okay, but he was also interested in what about the test, did he pass it? To which the man just laughed and said that he passed this test before it even started. Our hero was immediately very surprised, but the man also said that the exam he asked for 3 days ago was successfully passed by him. And today he invited him solely out of personal interest, thinking about how this academy will change after his appearance? Because looking at the young guy, the man couldn't wait to find out about it. Smiled just now, thinking that he was quite a cunning old man. And after a couple of days, the girl finally said the way it worked out for them. To which our hero, holding the envelope in my hands, said that she was definitely saying the right thing. But besides, the girl noticed that those guys wearing options had so frivolously made a bet with Mr. Yang. To which our hero said that no one forced them to agree since they were satisfied with all the conditions and now it is time to fulfill them. Approaching the door, our hero noticed that they had already come to the right place, that is why. He needs to recall her at this moment. To which the girl also agreed, wishing the guy good luck. Our hero immediately opened the doors. And he saw his two brothers sitting right at the table talking about who it was that had come to them. Call him a small insect, I ask if he has anything to say since they would prefer to have lunch without his presence. To which our hero said that of course she had something to say, because it was very fortunate that he found the two of them so quickly. Apparently the P guys were even a little surprised by this. But immediately, our hero, I will put the envelope on the table, asking her to take a look at it please. Since this notification of enrollment is as they agreed. To which our hero, I immediately said that could they now leave Granado's house? To which one of the brothers I just said that this couldn't happen. The second turned to his brother and asked why he was so alarmed, saying that it was probably a fake. To which he, of course, stood up and said that this was true, because it was impossible for him to do something like that. To which our hero, I thought that this was quite expected, saying that then he just needs to prove it? After all, he will tell them that this notice of enrollment is genuine. And for this he just needs to make peace with his brothers in strength. But then suddenly one of the brothers jumped up, grabbing his knife, saying that he was a damn insect and this was too much since it was better for him not to stand in his way. But our hero, I was able to stop my brother's sword quite easily. And the guy didn't understand what was happening because one of them couldn't move at all. And our hero immediately turned to the second brother, asking if he could stop standing on the sidelines. To which he immediately got angry and told him not to overestimate himself, using flame orders to burn his enemies to ashes. But our hero, I held the sword, only stared at this attack. To which the two brothers immediately looked in surprise as the flame flared up and said that this would be a lesson for him. But then a sharp flame, as soon as she disappeared, our hero appeared. I was whole and unharmed, because he stood as he did and continued to stand. And as soon as the two brothers saw this, they could not believe their eyes. But then our hero, I abruptly released the dagger towards his brothers. And the sword flew so close to the head of one of the brothers that it literally cut his hair on one side. He just flew into the wall, stabbing him very hard. To which our hero, I just closed my eyes and said that this should be enough for them because he passed the entrance exam and this means that now he is the head of the house and he officially expels his older brothers from the house of Granado. And so he asks them to pack all their things and leave this house tomorrow. The guys were very surprised and didn't understand what to do now. After all, they only managed to get rid of their annoying father, since just changing the medicine cost them a lot. But they should think about what and where they say. But the guy was very angry with his younger brother, thinking that since everything had already come to this, all that remained was to play their trump card. And going into one of the bars where several people were sitting at tables and drinking. They immediately showed us a bag containing gold and said that there were 10 platinum coins. As it turned out, it was the elder brother who asked if he could learn from him to destroy him. To which the man who took the bag of money replied that of course they could rely on him. It was the destroyer of Zodia, the magician of silence. And meanwhile our hero was just sleeping here. He stood up sharply because the girl turned to him, "Mr. and our hero." I replied that he knew perfectly well what was happening, saying that they finally decided to do it. Turning around, he saw that they had imprisoned him in a barrier. But besides, they didn't just drag him in. They also placed the magic of silent destruction inside him. Get our hero out of bed, I was just wondering. And approaching the window, he realized that they were not shy about any methods. Thinking about what it might be like to show them the real quiet destruction as it really is. Since downstairs they called the guy the best. After all, they will finally be able to see how this pathetic, smug insect suffers. Saying that he was a loser and will remain a loser since he managed to enter the Magic Academy. Winter, there remains another option to destroy it. To which the mercenary said that from the inside the barrier was completely saturated with dissolving magic and that there wouldn't even be a bone left for the target. Well, one of the brothers said that this is great but not parallel. I'ma visit her and see the fruits you miss. I asked my brother if he is correct in saying something. Replied that it was not that he enjoyed revenge, but it was his spirit as an older brother to see with his own eyes how his younger brother died. Which, in fact, they did by going up to the floor and walking through the room, but they didn't even understand that our hero, I was standing behind them and was watching all this. The one who took the door handle said that before he opens the door and we follow. Because they will see not the most pleasant sight inside. Opening the door, one of the brothers immediately asked how a pathetic insect could do this. But what they saw in front of them shocked them very much. After all, they caught how is this possible? Because there was no one in the room. To say that this cannot happen means that he simply disappeared, but one of the brothers asked, didn't he claim that his barrier was perfect? But the guy answered that everything was correct, because it was a type of barrier created from 2 magic circles installed in different parts of the mansion. It was impossible to get out of it, but the brother was interested. Then why wasn't he here? But sharply behind their backs a voice began to say that he was here and our hero was standing there. saying that now he might clarify the situation a little, since immediately after activating the silent destruction barrier he got out of it and found them, saying that they weren't even sure whether their target was destroyed or not, but they almost made a fuss and were making noise in three throats. Saying that he also perfectly heard their entire conversation and was now finally convinced that his father was talking about the two of them. Because they are not fit to be a home. But the guy is not immediately furious on the table, screaming towards the insect, saying that the mercenary should destroy him. To which the guy replied that he would have done it without his reminders. But our hero was literally able to destroy it with one blow, which in no way suggests that we must not let our guard down until we are completely convinced that the target has been eliminated. Because that's how it's supposed to work together. This guy was very shocked and didn't understand what was happening. To which our hero said that and now he believes that the knowledge of the two of them from home was not enough. If he leaves them alone, then they will constantly bother him, so he will allow them to experience all the torments of hell so that they do not even think, or rather are afraid to do anything. One of the brothers immediately began shouting towards our hero, asking what he was talking about and what he was talking about. But our hero only ordered him to shut up and not talk to him anymore. The two brothers immediately began to ask for forgiveness from our hero, saying that they would not bother him anymore and whether he could just leave them alone. And what about our hero smiling? He said that he wouldn't think of doing this to me. But then the brother got angry and asked him to listen to himself because he was crossing the line. And our hero immediately ordered Tenku to appear. And a monster literally appeared behind our hero's back. And as soon as the two brothers saw him, they immediately became very frightened. After all, they did not expect such incredible strength, although from the same side. Tenku, one of the 12 divine generals serving him, is a master of illusion. If his brothers even try to penetrate the territory of Granado again, they will immediately be overwhelmed by the illusion of monsters. Exactly the same as it seemed to them were behind our hero's back, from which they immediately began to run away. And they will never set foot in the lands of Granado again. Since they were out of the house once and for all. And our hero just looked out the window and watched as he didn't leave. That's how he is. Table head of the Granado family. And looking at the portrait of his father, he made sure to say that he would protect their precious lands. And therefore he can sleep peacefully. Already time has passed at the Elsila Magic Academy. Welcoming ceremony has arrived. First students underscore. And our hero was asked to go on stage. He thought that in his life he himself would not take first place in the exam, because clearly someone tried to make this perception happen. But besides, come on, the main thing for him is not to repeat the mistakes of his past life. So he decided to simply take advantage of this chance without wasting any time. And literally in a moment our hero entered the stage looking at everyone who was present in the hall. And many immediately began to whisper among themselves, saying that this was the Loserian, and they did not understand why he was. But our hero also said that on behalf of everyone he expresses gratitude for this magnificent admission ceremony. And now he would like to move on to one absurd topic. Since he lacks magical powers, our hero is not able to use magic. But our hero also said that, however, instead of it, he is able to use the so-called Onmito, which is similar in essence to magic. And even the teachers who were standing didn't understand what we were talking about. But the girl at one time believed that he had finally done it, because from now on everyone will have to appreciate Mr. Yang in a new way. Our hero also continued to say that his technique requires spiritual energy to use instead of magical power, which he fortunately possesses, and besides being onmagi, declare with full confidence that he is superior to any of the magicians present. And besides, they will be able to fully verify this during their life together at the academy, since his technique will completely change their worldview. Bowing, our hero asked for forgiveness that his performance above was so unauthorized, but he hoped that they would have a great time together. The girl looked intently at our hero, realizing that she did not expect anything less from the gentleman. And also the man watched the boy's performance. I think that he really did it. But one of the teachers asked the director whether he really liked this performance. To which the man replied that it was not bad because in this academy abilities decide everything. But Ian has every right to express himself like that. I've been around for a while. As expected, everyone ignored our hero in the new age. But, however, he understood perfectly well that this was part of his plans. But then he heard a voice telling him that his recent performance was very provocative, and didn't she think it came out well? Sophie. But then it turned out that it was a beautiful girl. Is he serious? Because his statement would only provoke among the students. To which our hero just laughed and said that it's completely possible, but that's what he wanted. But the girl was a little confused because she didn't understand what we were talking about. To which our hero also said that she should have remembered what he said at the entrance ceremony, since he will prove to them that he is superior to everyone with Onmito techniques. Talking about the fact that he will climb to the very top of the Magic Academy. And only now the girl began to understand what he was up to. I asked, when did he even manage to invent this new magic? But our hero also interrupted and said that this is not magic and that Onmito should not be confused with it, since he spent his whole life on her. And the girl just thought about what he had said all his life, but she didn't understand what he was talking about. But then the girl suddenly returned to class and said that she had returned. It was Kijin. And our hero also asked the girl to tell her how it all went. And she also said that in the northern and southern wings of the academy there is one separate dining room, and from the looks of it, so in the northern wing they put their fresh cookies and bull pies. To which our hero, I smiled and said that they should go and check it themselves. But here there is an imperativism towards the girl. She is the hero, extended his hand and said that he is glad to study with her in the same class. Sophia told the guy that she was also glad to study with him. At which the girl, looking at our hero's back, wondered if this was really the same Ian. But then suddenly they showed us a butterfly that was literally outside the window looking at the girl. And then a man who emanated a fairly strong aura around him. And a moment later the butterfly literally landed on his finger and the man asked if he found it. After all, as I expected, the students of the Elsella Academy. Excellent genetic material will come out. The man immediately hung up a photo of the girl. Sophie Norbert is said to feel that she has the potential to awaken. Thinking that this is excellent because as soon as he receives it, no one will be afraid of him. And even this role Vistav cannot be compared with the awakened ones even then. He understood perfectly well that Elsella Academy would be captured. And already a week after the start of their studies, they will conduct a training battle to determine how inclined each of them is to sword skills. In addition, magic was prohibited because in this battle they must show their physical talents, since it is just a training battle using wooden swords, but also pairs need to unite and they can start. And then one of the girls approached Sophia and offered to become her partner, to which the girl said that she would break out with her. I watched our hero curiously from the other side, but then Kijin turned to him. She immediately asked if he wanted to team up with her? To which our hero turns around and said that he planned to do so. Apparently we need to start soon, but we'll just wait a little bit as he. Sophie fight. The night girl said that she understood him and of course she would wait. But in just a moment the girl was able to literally hit her opponent with one attack. Her sword, although wooden, was pointed towards the defeated girl. And it was truly amazing because nothing less was expected from a member of the Norbert family, and it seems that the daughters in this family are being raised as sword masters from generation to generation. Our hero, I just thought that it was interesting for him. To which the girl immediately turns to our hero and said that the clock is ticking, and he also understood perfectly well why they start a duel. Meanwhile, the girl said her gratitude to Mrs. Sophie. They say that she was so strong that she did not even have a single chance of victory. To which the girl said that she was very pleased for her compliments, but she still has a lot to learn. The girl also said that it's not for nothing that she is called the Princess of the Sword. Since Pustin Ian and received first place in the exam, but if at the test of fencing skills, then Mrs. Sophia would have taken first place. And the girl would just cheer up for such compliments but turn around. The girl was a little surprised since it was a video. That our hero together with the girl, I started the battle. They immediately thought about what? Their pace is completely different from many. The girl watching all this thought that it was very magnificent. And our hero began to understand that Kijin was not joking and was fighting with all his might. And already at that moment the girl literally swung her hand and tried to make a blow to her regret. Our hero touched her shoulder with his sword and said that they would end the couple there. Well, she also said that she knew that she didn't have a single chance against the master. To which our hero, looking at the girl, said that she was a born actress, and the girl asked again. This means that he noticed. To which our hero said that he noticed only at the very end, since next time it might not try to single him out for the top while fighting seriously, and the girl said that she would take this into account. But then Sophia turned to our hero and asked if he would mind fighting her. To which our hero, I said that in fact he also really wants to spend time with the guy with her. To which the girl said that they must fight to the last and will not stand on ceremony. But everyone immediately began to discuss about their sparring between Ian, who I took first place, and Sophia, who took second place in the exam. Of course, everyone was interested in which of them could win this duel. And as soon as they clashed with swords, the girls immediately thought about it. That he really is the same old Ian to me. Since his fighting technique is not similar to any of the techniques that are taught in Elcella's fencing schools, because this is a completely unknown technique to her. And besides, I still remember this on Mito about whom no one knows anything because she simply cannot understand him, and that's the only reason. She wants her sword to help her get to know him a little better. But our hero is looking after the girl. He immediately understood everything since her magical power in Sophia's body is slightly unevenly distributed, and at this rate she will not run out of steam for a long time. So he immediately realized that then he wanted to try something. Although the duel continued, our hero, I was very angry. But then suddenly our hero decided to use tremors. And the girl was immediately shocked because she did not understand what was happening. And everyone immediately began to shout that it was magic, saying that it was prohibited during sparring, but then the girl said that it was not. Since it was not magic, but the Onmito technique. And our hero, I confirmed this by saying that no one forbade using it. But the girl immediately began to wonder why I was so suddenly thinking about whether he wanted to win at any cost. But our hero was already preparing for the attack, thinking about what she would do and take about it. But the girl felt towards God, and as soon as she turned around, she was able to defend herself from the attack of our hero, and also not only defend herself, but they also say that he wait to knock the sword out of his hands. To which our hero, I said that it was quite good and he admits defeat. But this was incomprehensible to the girl because she thought that he could still grab the sword and continue the duel. To which our hero said that since magic is prohibited, he simply used his technique, and it sounds like cheating, doesn't she find that he broke the rules, which means he lost. But then the girl felt that her magical power in her body had stabilized. I thought that was this really Yang-esque goal from the very beginning since he figured out her weakness. The girl also thanked our hero. But he turned around and said that he didn't think he had done anything worthy of gratitude. But still, the girl understood that because of this fight, she could only understand one thing about Yen. Since Yana has become much stronger than when he was still a child. But he still didn't know how to show his kindness. But everyone began to whisper about the fact that Yang kept boasting about his strength, and in the end he lost so pitifully well, and that he used his technique and not magic, because it is still a scam, he is not that great. But here is our hero. I told the girl that everything is under control, it is worth calming down. But then Sophia came in abruptly and told the guys that there was a misunderstanding because I was using the technique to correct the flow of mine in her body. And immediately everyone asked Sophia if she was sure of this and that she was not mistaken. To which the girl said that it was true, and with his fencing skills he could easily defeat her even without the use of his technique. Addressing our hero whether she is telling the truth or not. But our hero, I said that happiness, since he helps in a real battle, he would not be able to defeat Sophia. But besides, he is sure that next time he will not give in to her. And the girl smiled and said that she would always be ready for revenge. Everyone immediately began to whisper about the fact that he used the technique on Sophia, because even if he says so, it means it is true, since he also pulled off this time of sparring. If this is all true, then Yana is actually real. turn to our heroes and say that he is a great guy because he was wrong about him because he thought that he was just a tale. To which as soon as our hero heard about this, he immediately smiled and laughed a little. To which our hero, I came out and told the girl that he was not in her debt because without her he would not have become close to his classmates for a long time. But what the girl said was that she herself was only glad to help him, because if she had left everything as it was, then everyone would have misunderstood him. Our hero thinks for a bit and said that he would like to discuss this topic with her in a little more detail. I ask if she has time after class, maybe she won't go to his mansion and he will treat her as a sign of gratitude? But what the girl said was that she was very grateful and would gladly accept his invitation. And after classes, in the vicinity of the capital, the Granado family mansion. While our hero and Sophia were sitting at the table, a girl came in and asked for forgiveness for the wait, handing him black tea. Our hero thanked the girl. And only now Sophia began to understand that Kijin had been dry all this time. Yana is thinking that is such an unusual thing in a magic academy? But still our hero was interested in the fact that he was easy to misunderstand? And the girl, as it were, is so correct to say, because sometimes Ian behaves a little arbitrarily. Probably because of this, Odnoklasniki try not to intersect with him again. To which our hero asked about the smugness and the girl also asked him, didn't he understand this himself? But our hero, I've never thought about it this way before. I think that maybe this was also one of the reasons why the Tamaman clan wanted to get rid of him. After all this time it seemed to him quite normal to be confident in himself, and maybe he should behave more modestly if he does not want to repeat old mistakes. To which the girl said that if they solve all the misunderstandings, then people will immediately understand how good a person he is. To which our hero said that this is a problem that needs to be solved in the future. And what kind of person is he doing the 10th thing, talking about what he would do without her, but the girl also asked, can she help him get closer to the class? Our hero, I asked if she was confident in this. And the girl said that, of course, he had already helped her during the pairing. In addition, she would like to get to know him better. What does our hero need? I only ask Andre the girl for help. And after some time the girl got ready to leave, saying goodbye to our heroes. And our hero, I began to understand that it seems Sophie became his first friend at school. But the girl walking down the street thought that she had not communicated with anyone like that for a long time. Since everyone is very afraid of her family, so few people start a conversation with her, and perhaps Ian's confidence does not allow him to worry about such things. Thinking that school life would be much more fun than she expected, but then she saw something in front of her. A man who was literally twisted. The girl immediately wrote to run up to him, asking if he was okay. It was the grandmother who said that she had a slight shortness of breath, telling the young lady if she could help her since her home was not far from everything. To which the girl offered to carry her on her back, because that way she wouldn't have to strain her leg. She definitely didn't expect what appeared behind the girl's back, because she thanked the kind lady. They say that this way it will be much easier for her to catch her. The girl just heard this and tried to turn around, but unfortunately, she didn't have time quite a bit, and literally, by magic, she lost consciousness. And they began to collect it literally at sunset in an unknown direction. The girl is talking about being mailed by a maid from the Norbert house. Our hero asked what happened so late, perhaps Sophia forgot something with him? The maid immediately asked our hero about Mrs. Sophia, is she now in his mansion? To which our hero said don't answer, Sophia went home a long time ago. And as soon as the maid spoke, our hero realized that she never returned to the mansion. And it was he who found the hero that began to cause concern. To which the maid asked that he please contact him if he finds out anything about the location of Mrs. Sophia, to which our hero only said that it is good. After all, he will contact her first as soon as he finds out something. And the maid asked for forgiveness since I needed to deviate. And our hero decided to call Taima. As soon as the guy appeared in front of our hero, he immediately said that he should have heard everything. And he gives him the task of finding out where Sophia is. Taima immediately said that he would, of course, do everything as quickly as possible. Since our hero had a bad premonition if only it did not come true. Meanwhile, the girl was already at your chair and sitting in an incomprehensible room. But as soon as the girl woke up, she immediately began to remember because she wanted to help the old lady and then. But then a guy appeared in front of the girl and the girl said that they saw that she woke up. But Sophia immediately angrily asked who they were. And the girl asked Sophia if she didn't remember how she caught her. But then the girl remembered what happened after she left our hero's house and was heading to her house. I understand that at that time it was her. But also the girl was happy because she remembers her? Sophia immediately asked who they were and what they needed from her. And the man only told her not to rage because it would be a shame if she died too quickly due to physical exhaustion, didn't she think so? But Sophia did not fully understand what was being said and what the man meant. But he turned around and grabbed some kind of switch with his hand. But then suddenly something began to happen. Sophia did not understand what was happening and what they were doing. But then she was asked the question, is it painful for her because a high concentration of magical power is pouring into her body, which is necessary if they want to heal her magic factor genes. As soon as the girl heard the healing of the magic factor, she immediately began to think. To which the man told her that she was talking a lot and it would be much worse for her. Because if she wants to live a little longer, she should sit silently. Well, then the girl immediately answered the man that she understood who they were. Since they are from Runeteoria. To which the girl immediately thought, how did she know about them? Runeteori, the name of the organization to which they belong, since they are forces of radical opposition hostile against their aristocrats, asking if she is right? To which the man said that he was flattered because it means the families of the great aristocratic houses already know about them existence and then he will enlighten her about the goals of their organization. Since they are the world that the aristocracy created with such difficulty and they will cleanse the rot and systems built on bloodlines. Everyone will become equal in strength, regardless of the purity of the blood, from its magical factor he will make a potion that enhances magical potential. Because with this medicine all the weaklings losers will get a little justice. Well, of course, in exchange for the potion, they will forever serve Runeteori. And as soon as they displace the entire aristocracy in this country, another world will be born. But Sophia also said that no one would allow such a thing. And these words made the man very angry and he immediately started shouting at her and asked where the gifted ones come from to know this? And he began to increasingly increase the effect of this magic on the girl, saying that very soon they will begin curing the magic factor gene. Once they finish they will release her. True, she will remain in a serious condition. Meanwhile, our hero's subordinates were already thinking about the fact that it would be difficult to take Sophia with them right now. Since the woman he sees can add very big problems to them. Therefore, she decided to do it much more correctly to immediately report everything to Mr. Yang. And literally, a moment later a man arrives to our hero saying that he has found out the location of Miss Sophia. To which our hero immediately asked where she is. And the man said that she was in an abandoned castle west of here. But our hero was also interested in why she was there and what she was doing. To which the man said that an organization called Runeteori uses Sophia in its experiments. To which our hero also asked what condition Sophia has and the man replied that at the moment she is resisting. Our hero jumped up sharply and said that they were heading there immediately and the man did not obediently agree. And also our hero, I ordered the girl to follow her along with the man. And just a few minutes later, our hero, I, along with my servants, looked at the castle, realizing that this was an abandoned castle, 10 people standing at the front entrance and the back exit. There are about 20 wizards on each floor, there are about 100 prisoners in the dungeon. And the man immediately showed that the laboratory is located in the far part of the dungeon and Sophia is being held there. Speaking of the shortest path with the minimum number of opponents. But our hero also interrupted and said no, because the shortcut won't be useful for anything. Because I asked the men what he said? To which our hero immediately said that they would all pay severely if they dared to offend him. And our hero immediately used his summoning skill. He immediately called Suzaku, Kojin, Genbu, Dayan. They tell them to listen to him very carefully. since Runadiori must be destroyed to its very foundation. All the guys, of course, immediately rejoiced at this order. I understand that their time has come. Having bowed to our hero, they immediately said that his order would be carried out. And he immediately led his people to follow him. The actions themselves take place in an abandoned castle to the west of the main entrance. One of the guards stood at his post, yawning, but then he saw something in front of him. A guy appeared who was literally walking straight towards him. And he immediately began to tell him to stop, because this is not the place where all sorts of aristocrats like him are allowed in. He should get out of here as quickly as possible. To which our hero literally pretended that he didn't hear anything and began to walk past. But as soon as the guy turned around, the only thing he did was it grabbed our hero by the shoulder, saying whether he was listening to him or not. But our hero, I was not going to stand on ceremony, so with one easy movement he literally drove it into the asphalt. He said that he was bothering him. To which the other guards immediately raised the alarm and said that they were being attacked. And no longer a small number of security guards began to run to the scene. To which one of our hero's assistants, holding her face only around the house, says that it is very similar. One of his assistants to act. And the guy asked to give it to him. It was Kojin Golden Serpent. Which, in fact, is what the guy began to do, destroy everyone who stands in the way of his master. And literally a moment later our hero and his charges began to go inside / And our hero immediately asked how they could get into the dungeon. But what I received was the answer that they needed to go down these stairs. But then more guards appeared who ordered each other not to let them go even further than they were now. So our hero immediately ordered Suzaku and Dayan to get rid of these guys. Well, the guy was very happy that she was not their turn and he asks our hero to rely on him. It was Suzaku, the Scarlet Sparrow. And also the girl, Dayan the Great Secret, was already ready to beat the crap out of these guys. And in fact, the guy and the girl began to do this, surrounding themselves with a sufficient number of guards. But our hero immediately ordered the girl to follow him into the dungeon. But then a girl appeared in front of the stairs asking if these weren't T. Sophia's friends. After all, they were supposed to come to the rescue. The girl understood that this woman was very strong when addressing the master. The only thing is that she asked to leave it to her. To which our hero, I said that he is completely counting on her. And, in fact, our hero simply began to walk past the girl as if nothing had happened. To which the girl also turned around and thought that the guy had decided to slip past her, stretching his hand towards our hero. But then, unexpectedly for the girl, her attack was interrupted literally in a matter of seconds. Turning around, the girl asked what it was. Kijin, meanwhile, turning to the girl, said that she does not cast the spell out loud and it seems that she thinks that she is a little better than other magicians. To which the girl asked again about something a little better? Kijin immediately answered yes, although no matter how you look at her, she is still very weak. But then the girl suddenly took out a syringe and said that then why don't I increase the dose of the drug, and the driver immediately began to inject herself into the right side of her neck. They say that it is called Makaya, a prototype of a potion that increases magical potentials. And at this time, the girl's hand literally transformed into a monster in a matter of seconds, in addition to the fact that it became much larger, so it didn't look like an ordinary girl's, saying that with this wonderful land, anyone can become a Superman. Kijin just laughed at this, hearing the Superman say that perhaps she wanted to say a monster? To which the girl immediately said that her behavior was very impudent, but she still would not hope for a quick death. Kijin immediately replied that perhaps it may seem like a grab now, but she professionally gets rid of monsters. So she immediately asked to be allowed to get rid of her using her abilities. Meanwhile, our hero has already descended into the underground prison. To which one of the subordinates told our hero that the room at the end of the corridor is the place where Sophia is being kept. Our hero understood perfectly well where Sophia was, so he ordered Taima to deal with the magicians and guards, and Genbu should evacuate the prisoners and heal everyone who was wounded, regardless of the complexity of the injury. Taima immediately said that he would do everything quickly enough. His ability is grace. And the girl was also glad that she had received a new task and she could already act. But then the guards suddenly jumped out in front of our heroes and immediately began shouting that they would never allow them to go further. But then the guy took out his scythe literally in one movement, destroying everyone who stood in front of him, saying that he would ask them to stop acting so uncivilized. Meanwhile, the girl immediately began to treat all the prisoners who had wounds. But why did they immediately begin to tell you that their pain instantly went away, addressing the girl like a respected saint? They tell her that they are immensely grateful to her for her help in curing them. To which the girl was completely grateful and only thought about who the saint was because she did not understand the meaning of this word. But then one of the guards was able to get to one of the main ones, entering the room and saying that they had intruders. Because the man immediately said that he had probably forgotten his place, the witch should get rid of them and not disturb him while he is busy. But the guard immediately began to shout that he was talking about this because the enemies occupied almost the entire castle, destroying a fairly large number of guards. But as soon as the man heard about this, he could not fully believe the guard's words until eventually he fell down dead and appeared in front of the man. Our hero who stood and just looked intently at the man. To which he began to understand that it was he, because he must be here to save Sophia and take her with him. Sophia, immediately seeing that Ian was standing on gunpowder, only said his name because she didn't have enough strength anymore. But our hero, looking at the girl, said that now everything would be fine and she held out quite well while she was waiting for help. But the man also began to talk towards our hero that he was a fairly good optimist, since he had already decided that he had one. To which our hero, I just told the man that if he thinks that he will be able to fly it, then he is very mistaken. Since he doesn't have a single chance, it is a one-sided game and there will only be one winner and that is our hero. Meanwhile, some of our hero's assistants were already standing in the cleared room and talking about how it was quite simple for them. But when they turned around, they saw that Kijin seemed to have faced a fairly strong opponent, but they immediately thought that she was the main one among them, so she would probably cope after all. They understood perfectly well that the Kijin skill, the most special of them, was hostile. Meanwhile, while the battle was going on, the girl, continued to talk about how she didn't understand what was happening to her because she said that she was a professional monster fighter, but for some reason she still couldn't destroy the monster. Kijin understood perfectly well that her rival's physical strength was still many times greater than her. But the girl did not continue to retreat every time she tried to attack our hero's assistant, saying that her blows could cause her very serious pain. Kijin immediately rejected the attack from Ashen some distance away and began to use his invisibility ability. But the girl was not so simple as her magical powers increased significantly and she immediately saw that her rival decided to hide, saying that she sees everything. She immediately rushed to the attack, not allowing the girl to disappear from sight for a moment. Saying that she is very surprised that they are still going to save something because at this rate she and her friends will soon go to the grave. But the most important thing is that as soon as she turned around, she saw that the two were able to completely destroy all the guards who were in this room. And of course, the girl was very angry because she didn't understand how they could so easily and simply destroy all the guards. Well, one of the guys asked the girl how long will she be playing since she and her other half have long since finished. But the girl immediately thought that her assistants were very weak, but she did not despair because she thought that she would finish off her rival and take care of them. Why did the guys just laugh at this? To which they even began to laugh, saying that if she thinks that she can defeat Kijin, then she is very mistaken because she should realistically assess her strength. To which the girl, as soon as she heard about their laughter, immediately decided that she would then poke them with simply facts. So she immediately rushed at Kijin with an attack, telling them to watch carefully as she took her victory. And the girl was very serious about her victory and the destruction of her rival, saying that she would be destroyed here and now. Meanwhile, Kijin, immediately using his skills such as come back in a moment. And the girl literally in a matter of seconds returned to the position in which she was literally a second ago. And immediately Kijin made her attack, cutting her opponent and destroying her. Saying that she already knew how she would attack her. But the girl couldn't believe it because she didn't understand how this happened. The guys who were watching from the side began to think about what a sudden attack meant, since her skill of rewinding time was also a scam. Kijin immediately turned to Daein. Speaking of which, she also has an interesting hostile skill. Well, what the girl said, if she likes him so much, then they can exchange skills, because even if they wanted to, they couldn't do it since she is very special without her hostile skill. Each of the 12 divine generals has their own innate skill, the Kijin skill. Come back a moment. It allows you to rewind the time of an apparently object by about 1 second. This innate ability makes her the strongest among the 12 divine generals, but however, the girl did not think that she would have to resort to using hostile abilities. To which the girl who sat down understood that that girl was injecting herself with this thing. And it was scary to imagine what would happen if in the course of their experiments they could find a way to obtain this drug. Kijin turned to our hero, telling him to please be more careful. Meanwhile, our hero was already able to free Sophia from imprisonment. Lifting the girl in his hand, the only thing Sophia said was that she behaved well. Now everything will be fine with her. But Sophia asked our hero to be very careful because he is not that simple. And in the meantime our hero called one of the assistants to his place, ordering him to pick up Sophia and take her to a safe place, to which Taima only said that he would definitely do it. Meanwhile, the man said that this is it, since Makia is a miracle drug that can give anyone monstrous magical power. To which the man said that its effectiveness has been fully proven, and even though it is still at the testing stage, now with Sophia's magical gene it is finally completed, and with it he can artificially cause awakening. Since everyone in the world will become equal and there will be no weak and strong, I ask our hero, isn't he this wonderful? To which our hero said no, because it is complete nonsense, and he has never heard of any worse plan because he wouldn't want to live in such a world. But the man said that his ideals were created only to please himself. To which the man, presenting the drug to himself, said that he was very annoyed because, apparently, he would have to destroy it. And after he injected himself with the drug, yes, he immediately began to change. His body literally grew many times over, but now his entire body and head, if before that the girl only had an arm, then he completely changed. To which our hero said that he is monstrous, but this uniform suits him. To which the man immediately said that it was just right for his appearance, and this is a very suitable appearance for a king who will rule this world. To which our hero just smiled and said that he didn't think so. Well, okay, in principle, it doesn't matter anymore, because he remembers that in a past life he defeated almost all evil spirits. In some ways, he is now similar to them. So, smiling, our hero only said that it was time to drive out evil in this world. But the man immediately turned to our hero saying that he is a funny guy, because he thinks that he is able to defeat his awakened one? Alas, he is very much mistaken because nothing will come of it. The man immediately rushed to attack our hero, but using his ability he summoned a spiritual blade. And thus, he was able to strike the man. He just laughed at something because he said that his skin hardens with steel. If he thinks that this blade can hurt him, then he is mistaken. But our hero, I look and listen. He just said that he can do something completely different. And he immediately summoned his super speed ability, starting to attack with incredible speed and also using precise images. But the man was only thinking about how he sees himself delivering blows but feels the pain from them a second later, reflecting on the fact that he knew that he was practicing magic unknown to him. But the same man said that he would say all that if he cannot use ordinary magic, then he will not be able to dispel it. And the man used the curse of chains on our hero, which literally immediately began to envelop our hero's entire body. And he understood perfectly well that the magic chains did not give him a chance to move, and in order to get rid of the chains he needed to put more magic into them than the one who cast them did. But since our hero has no magical powers, and if we leave everything as it is, he will 100% die. But our hero came up with an idea. What if we use the important magic of spiritual energy against it and hit it in vulnerable places? But the man, thinking that the chains were holding his opponent tightly enough, immediately tried to attack. But our hero, the only thing he said was that he could not hope, and he immediately breaks the chains that held him back, preventing him from moving. But the man not only didn't understand how he did it, but also missed a blow from his opponent. Why is our hero? I just said that if he believes that his sword cannot hurt him, then he is very mistaken. But that man felt that the blow still went through and wounded him, thinking that he concentrated all the attacks at one point and pierced his skin. But looking at the guy, the man immediately began to think, because he is a video, what a sinister force is standing in front of him, and since he was able to injure him. He immediately asked our hero to wait. They say that it was great because he couldn't help but admire his abilities. After all, he has not yet met a person capable of resisting the Awakened One, and can he listen to his proposal? So why shouldn't he join Runadiori? After all, he can become his right hand and together they will rebuild this world. To which our hero just laughed at such a proposal and said that he would never agree to this in his life. Because first of all, he doesn't want to serve anyone, and even if they change roles, he doesn't want to cooperate with him, but besides that, he is still very angry and will not calm down until he is destroyed. But then the monster said that this is a very big pity because it means he has no other choice other than how to destroy him here and now. To which the man also said that this is the real true power of the Awakened One. Using his skills, he immediately caused an explosion. And the explosion was so powerful that it literally could easily destroy the concrete building in which everyone was located. But fortunately, our hero's assistants were able to protect everyone who was freed from falling stones and the destruction that very explosion caused. Meanwhile, our hero literally took off and said that in no case can he argue since it was quite strong but very useless since he could not hit it. But the man, apparently, was not going to stop even for a minute, since his wings were already growing and he could fly up just like our hero. To which he looked carefully, only I said that he was quite stubborn and, apparently, would not stop halfway. To which our hero decided to end it anyway. At this point, using his spiritual wave skill once and for all, he immediately struck at his opponent. This force was so powerful that it was able to throw the monster quite a long distance from our hero. And at that moment, the man realized that he was much stronger than he expected, since he was in no way inferior to his awakened version. But then the man glanced at our hero's assistants and the people they saved, and apparently, looking at them, he was clearly planning something. Because he immediately began to laugh very furiously and, apparently, they were preparing for something serious, and our hero, turning around and looking at where he was looking at the monster at that moment, began to understand what was about to happen. And in the meantime he literally created some kind of incomprehensible cube around himself due to very strong energy. Release the power of the Awakened One to the fullest extent that he has, and will he be able to simultaneously attack him and protect his comrades? To which our hero just thought that he was really crazy and had gone crazy because he decided to destroy all his subordinates in literally a matter of moments. So our hero immediately turned to Kijin, telling her if she could hear him, and as soon as the girl said that she was beautiful, she could hear him. Our hero told her that he would have to become a little more serious and the girls and everyone else should provide protection to the saved people, and the girl immediately answered him that she listened to him. And our hero, I began to concentrate in my hands the absolute spiritual flame of the strongest striking technique as it has always been, but our hero understood perfectly well that this might not be enough. So he decided that if he put other techniques into it, its power would increase many times over. And into the absolute flame of the strongest striking technique, he also began to infuse the fusion of black flame, the radiance of the spiritual flame with the black flame enriched with spiritual energy, forming the complexity of spiritual energy. And thus, the rapid flow of spiritual energy has an amazingly destructive power that is beyond the power of any living being. But the man still didn't fully understand what kind of destructive force this was, because he just started laughing. They said that this flame would not be stopped even by 1%, using its explosive force. To which our hero immediately shouted that he would not allow anyone to die in this battle, and he immediately began to release all the concentrated spiritual energy flame towards his opponent, that is, a monster. An incredible power clashed in the sky Asia. All around you there are blue-violet flowers. But, unfortunately for the man, the flame itself was quite destructive, so much so that it easily penetrated the man's explosion and was already rapidly heading to the side to strike. To which the man, of course, did not immediately see the attack. But as soon as he saw it, he immediately began to shout that it was impossible because how could he, an awakened one, lose to an ordinary person? But, unfortunately for the monster and our hero achieved his goal, his parasite fell to the ground and stopped showing any signs of life. To which our hero said that he would expel the evil spirit, and he immediately began to use his ability such as purification. And our hero, with the help of his technology, was able to see the man's past where his life was a continuous black stripe, just like his mother and father in childhood were destroyed by thieves who tried to break into the house when he was still a child, and from that moment he began to desperately study magic for the sake of his own survival. However, he was then lucky to find a patron, and thus he became a scientist. And even after a while, the man was able to meet the love of his life. But unfortunately, this happiness turned out to be too fragile. Since his beloved was taken by force by the aristocrats due to his low status, he could not do anything to protect her. And he also understood that they had a rather weak supply of magical powers and practically no talent for magic, and this prompted him to write an innovative dissertation on magic. But before the man could blink his eyes, all his achievements were appropriated by his patron, the aristocrat, and due to this, he immediately changed. I understand that he could not allow people to experience grief like his, and he gave himself a word that he would definitely create a world in which weaklings and ordinary people could prevail by creating a real world where everyone is equal. Since purification is an Onmito technique that reproduces the memories of the targets and thus allows her to cleanse her soul of filth. To which our hero you have already said that he is overwhelmed by the thirst for revenge, and because of this darkness was able to penetrate his heart and distort it. Saying that he acted as it was considered fair, to which the man immediately replied no, because he understood that he had committed a terrible crime and there was no justice in them. Since he didn't even have time to understand when he became like those he hated in pursuit of his ambitions, he simply closed his eyes to all his mistakes. Saying that he would really like to atone for his crimes, because now that he is defeated that is all he can think about. But our hero, sitting next to the man, began to say that based on his past, he could not say that he is a villain to the core, saying that if he wants to atone for his sins, then he should join the guy. But the man didn't fully understand what he meant. To which our hero said that he had the right goal, but he chose the wrong implementation, and this time, with the right approach, his dreams can come true. And he will eventually be able to use his outstanding knowledge of magic under the command of our hero. The man also asked our hero if he was sure of his words. To which our hero immediately said that he can fulfill his dream, because for the sake of everyone who was unlucky in this life, isn't this the most suitable way to atone for his crimes? To which the man began to cry and only thanked our hero for such an opportunity. Holding out his hand, he also said that he swears that he will put his body and soul into this business. To which our hero, smiling, told the man that he would be very glad to cooperate with him. Meanwhile, the girl, observing this situation, was glad that all these events were over. And thus, this is how they were able to save Sophia and destroy Runadiori. As well as the surviving members of this secret society were taken into custody. But the conscious Drugmakaya, a man capable of enhancing magical abilities, completely destroyed one of our hero's assistants with fire. And of course, Sophia quickly received treatment from Genbu, a master of meditation among his Shikigami, and is already on the mend as she has not experienced any side effects. Well, the knights also took care of the prisoners, because each of them was returned back to their home. And of course, the people who were saved were very grateful for this opportunity to continue living, as they would never forget their kindness. What our hero began to think about, since he used to save people in secret. So this is new to him. Because this incident quickly spread throughout the town and very soon made it to the front page of the royal newspaper. The girl addresses our hero and was very happy to say that he has finally gained fame. Our hero also smiled at this and said something was true. But then the girl saw that our hero had some kind of letter in his hands, and so she immediately asked what was written there. And our hero replied that this letter was from the head of the family, Norbert, speaking in other words, this letter was from Sophia's father. And also in this letter there were words of gratitude. And Sophia's father also invited him to the mansion for dinner. But that the girl, smiling, only said that there was nothing surprising in this, since Sophia survived only thanks to Mr. Yen. To which our hero said with amazing eyes that he didn't do anything special since he just saved his mountain. To which the girl did not stop chuckling. They said that she expected this from the gentleman, saying that he was so generous. Norbert family is indebted to them, one of the greatest aristocratic families, and this can have a great influence on being such a small family of aristocrats as the Granato family. Although it seems to him that the maximum they will get is gratitude and monetary rewards. And the very next day, approaching the castle, he thought so, because it was quite luxurious. But walking down the corridor, his reality exceeded all his expectations. The maid immediately opened the door to Sophia's father's office, letting our hero go forward. To which the man immediately asked our hero, "Is he Ian Granato?" To which our hero, coming in, said that it was he, turning to Sir Norbert. He thanked him for the invitation. To which the man said that this was a small way to express his gratitude by offering to sit down and drink a cup of tea. To which our hero said that he would use his Axel's reception and, of course, sit down. And within a moment one of the maids was pouring hot tea into our hero's glass. But the man immediately said that first he would like to ask him one simple question. And as soon as our hero raised a mug of tea to his face, he replied that it was good, because he even became interested in what the man wanted to know from him. And he immediately said the phrase, "Would the guy like to marry Sophia?" Such a question, of course, agitating our hero. Why did he literally immediately throw a cup of hot tea? Everything around. Confused, our hero immediately asked if he had heard correctly about getting married. To which the man looked intently. Even though he was in tea, she said that he returned everything and heard. Our hero also asked for forgiveness for spilling the tea since his proposal was too shocking for him, to which the man responded by saying that he did not plan to put pressure on his daughter as saviors. And he also understood that he was too harsh with such a question, asking for forgiveness and saying that without him the kidnapping story would not have ended just like that. After all, he could have lost his daughter and the Listila kingdom would have suffered a huge blow. His wedding proposal was caused solely by the desire to repay the kindness of the Granato family. So I decided to ask the man one more time whether he would like to marry his daughter. To which our hero also asked if she knew about their conversation with Sophia, and the man replied that of course she didn't know anything. And our hero would not want to make a rash decision without knowing what Sophia thinks about all this, saying that unfortunately he is forced to refuse. Since Sophia is a dear classmate to him, to which the man smiled. Speaking of the fact that now he only wants more and more to become an at least part of their family. But our hero only looked at how the man rejoiced and did not understand what caused such joy in the man. But the man also immediately asked our hero if he thought Sophia was a good candidate for a wife. Although it may sound implausible coming from her father, Sophia is really good with herself and has manners. Besides, she is not only brave but also sweet. Moreover, despite her status, she never behaved arrogantly and behaved kindly with everyone. The man did not stop hoping that the guy might change his mind, but our hero only answered that he would not change his decision. He said that nothing can be done. I can discuss this like this some other time. Although our hero smiled at the man, he immediately thought about the fact that if the man says that they can discuss this another time, it means he clearly wants to invite him again. And the man also understood that although the conversation about marriage had reached a dead end, he still had to thank him somehow. So he immediately suggested, how about transferring part of the land of the Norbert family into the possession of the Granat family? Our hero certainly did not expect this, that a man would offer him to transfer part of the lands. And the man also noted that he knows the internal situation of his family and let him accept, condolences about his father. But the expulsion of two idiot brothers only plays into his hands. And our hero is at home, because since this matter can help a Granat in the family, we need to make the most of it as much as possible. And our hero said that then he had one place in mind that he would like to get. To which the man said that he would kindly listen. What kind of place is this that the young man would like to have at his disposal? And our hero said that this is the earth bordering the territory of the pomegranate. Can he teach the Kerbet village that belongs to him? The man immediately replied that this place is not very developed, but he understands his train of thought since he understood that he plans to extract resources from local mines. To which our hero said that this is not entirely true. So even though this area is rich in minerals, he is more interested in the land itself as such. In addition, he thought these lands would ideally complement the already existing pomegranate families of the territory. To which the man replied that he is not sure that it is worth it, because he realizes how labor-intensive the process of establishing the land itself is. To which our hero, smiling, said that of course he understands everything perfectly. But the man became interested, and then he said that then he would give the Grenade family the village of Kerbet, which is in his possession. Thus, our hero, I bowed my head to thank the man for this. But he said that it was not he who should thank him, but the man, since the young guy saved his daughter and he was very grateful to him for that. But then our hero decided to ask the man if he could visit Sophia while he was still here. To which the man said that of course he could do it by asking the maid to escort the guy to Sophia's room. Thinking that he had already managed to adopt the character and greatness of his late father and perhaps in the future he could become the main support of this country, yet how sorry the man was that he rejected his marriage proposal. Meanwhile, Sophia lay in bed and only thought about the words of our hero when he, smiling, told her that everything would be okay with her. She immediately asked herself to stop. After all, if she continues to think about him, she will no longer be able to stay calm with him. Thinking that while she is resting here, thoughts about Yana do not enter her head. Well, she also understood that nothing could be done about it since Ian risked his life to save her and he would have done this for a simple friend. After all, perhaps she is much more than just a friend to him. But then the girl began to shout to herself that these were too hasty conclusions. After all, he had always been kind to her, they say that he definitely doesn't treat her alone so well. But still the girl understood that she needed to get up and stretch her muscles a little since she had been lying in bed for a long time. And Sophia thought that fencing would save her from unnecessary thoughts and she would stop thinking about him. But as soon as the girl opened the doors, she saw Ian in front of her. Very surprised by this since she didn't exactly expect to see a guy in front of her door. To which our hero, I raised my hand and greeted Sophia, asking her forgiveness for coming so suddenly because he thought to find out how she was feeling. The girl immediately out of curiosity, did he come to see her? And our hero said that she was very exhausted when he saved her, so he was very worried about Sophia. At first the girl understood what she was talking about, but then she saw that she was literally standing in her pajamas. And immediately slammed the door in our hero's face. Our hero did not understand what happened and why Sophia simply closed the door in front of him. But the girl could only tell our hero that she still felt weak in her body. To which our hero, I replied that then she should not overexert herself and he wants her to recover as quickly as possible. But the girl immediately began to cry, thinking that the guy saved her. She treated him so rudely by closing the door in front of him. And walking along the corridor, our hero thought that he had barely escaped the problem because this meeting with Sophia helped him make sure that giving up the marriage was the right decision, since if he had agreed without her opinion, she would have been very upset. But still, part of the land of the Norbert family was an unexpected benefit and it was a sin not to take advantage of it. And after a while you return home. I met our hero, a girl said that she was glad to see him. He immediately told the girl that they were immediately returning to the land of Grenade. And entering one of the rooms, I was in front of them Shikaban. It was a counting disc displaying a simplified structure of the world. Pour spiritual energy into the Shikaban, our hero could effectively use on Mito techniques. To which the girl noted that it was good that they prepared it in advance, since the pomegranate lands are located a little far from the capital. But still with this he will reach them in the blink of an eye using a spatial transition. And literally a second later our hero and the girl found themselves in their possessions. Turning around, our hero noticed that it seemed that everything worked out quite well for them, to which the girl said that it looks like he is really right. Since, in addition, our hero was interested in how well Rikugo coped with his task. But walking along the corridor our hero noticed a maid asking him when he managed to return. To which he replied that he had just arrived, also asking if Rikugo was in the office? To which the maid replied that she thought he was there. And thus our hero, when I entered the office, I saw Rikugo, who told our hero that the gentleman had really returned, perhaps something had happened? To which our hero said that he had received his possession of the new lands, so he thought that he would have to return home and tell him about it. As soon as the man heard about the new lands, he just said that this was wonderful news. Well, besides, our hero, I noticed that most of his spiritual energy had returned to him. And this meant that now he will summon all 12 Shikigami and they will begin to accelerate the development of the Granado lands. To which the man said that the accelerated development of Granada lands is a very good idea and he does not dare to object to this. To which our hero, I said that now they can summon everyone and distribute tasks to everyone using the call of the 12 divine Shikigami generals. And as soon as the process began to take place, all our hero's assistants began to literally appear in front of him. He immediately told everyone that now he has enough spiritual energy to maintain the form of all 12 Shikigami. And from this day on, each of them will be involved in the work. Everyone immediately said that they would kindly help the gentleman. But then suddenly someone jumped out swinging towards our hero, saying that they had not seen the gentleman for a long time. What a funny thing, our hero just turned to look at. But then some guy appeared and literally stopped the attacker's attack. Told him not to dare to behave impudently with Mr. Yang, addressing him by the name Tuda. To which the guy immediately said that he shouldn't stand in his way. To which our hero, laughing a little, said that she was glad to see him, but he had not changed at all, he remained the same problematic guy. To which he, in turn, smiled and said that he was that great. But nevertheless, our hero said that he would fight with him sometime next time, and now he should behave quite quietly, because he doesn't want our hero to recall his physical shell? Well, the girls also noticed that they seemed to have returned to the good old days and they were apparently very happy about this. To which our hero said that now that they have finished, he will distribute all my tasks, since with their efforts the Granada lands will develop to unprecedented heights. Everyone, of course, was very happy about such news. After all, they had literally sat too long. But our hero, I continued to talk about what? There are several reasons why the land of Granado is considered a weak territory in the kingdom of Alcela. The first is population size, the second is military power, and of course the financial situation, since all three facts are very important and in their case they are below average. To which our hero said that first of all he wants to improve these three factors. And our hero began to give orders to everyone, saying that Kijin would continue his studies at the academy and, like Rikugo, would continue to manage the territories of the Granado family. Thus, there will be a responsible housekeeping establishment in the main house. Tenku will begin collecting information throughout the Granada area. Kojin will take on the role of instructor for the Granada Knights, which will strengthen their military power. Sarayu will prepare for the opening of their trading company and will later be involved in its management. And Tenko will also help her with this. Genbu will help to distinguish the patient during but in the hospital at the church. Well as Suzaku, Dayan, Tuda, Bayako, the four of them will take upon themselves the founding of new territories. To which our hero immediately said that all the orders had already been given. But the girls were curious, how should they explore new territories? Since he relies on them. But can they really help him here? To which our hero, I said that it is all quite simple. After all, they just need to establish relations with the local population. Kurt's territory came into the possession of the Granado family from the Norbert family and the residents must be at a loss because they do not understand how this happened. But besides, our hero, I also decided to talk with them about his future plans as he plans to do in the new territory. But for now it was unknown to us what our hero wanted to do since we will find out a little later, but still he asked everyone, does his plan sound good? To which the girl was delighted and just said that it was cool and it would be a lot of fun. Well, another girl also noticed, addressing our hero, that if his plan worked, then the trading company for which she took responsibility would be very useful. To which our hero, I replied that he probably thinks that's why he didn't trust her to run the company. But then one of the guys said, what does it mean if the Great One organizes a pogrom there, then the gentleman will have to fight him? To which our hero said that just to prevent this from happening, Bayako and Suzaku would go with him, since he leaves it to the two of them. Two also said that everything would be done in the best possible way. Well, the guy just said that he definitely wouldn't be bored with them. But then the girl asked our hero why she was going there with them. And our hero replied that because her beauty and simplicity attract people. Well, in other words, she's still a big baby. He replied to everyone that it was great, because now he would ask everyone to go about their business. And all 12 knights immediately bowed to our hero, saying that everything would be done in the best possible way. And the very next day our hero, together with Kijin, walked along the school corridors. Noticing how many turn around and look in the direction of our hero, discussing the fact that this is the same Ian from the rumors that are circulating around the school. And our hero began to understand that it seemed the story of how he saved Sophia was spreading throughout the academy. And he also noticed that not that it's a problem, but when everyone is staring at him, it makes him a little uncomfortable. To which the girl immediately asked our hero if she should stun all these students? To which our hero replied that this would only add to their problems since even she shouldn't think about it, and the girl also asked for forgiveness. But still the guy understood that when it comes to him, dangerous thoughts come into the girl's head, although she usually thinks very sensibly. Class, our hero, I noticed Sophia. Our hero immediately greeted Sophia and asked how she was feeling? To which the girl replied that it was much better, but then she asked for forgiveness, which made him worry. But our hero also said that she should not apologize for something for which she was not at all to blame. But the girl still said thank you to our hero, saying that he is very kind and naturally they are friends. But it was quite clearly visible as soon as our hero I answered exactly how the girl literally got upset, lowering her eyes to the floor. But then he began to come into the class to resell or say that the magic lesson was about to begin and everyone needed to take their seats. The man immediately introduced himself as Colin, saying that he would teach magic in the sword class, and before they began their classes, he would like to say something for those who are not able to use magic. The on-meds technique that uses it instead should not interfere with the learning of talented students. To which our hero, I immediately realized that he literally poked his finger at him. But then Sophia immediately said that isn't this an outright insult to the student by the teacher? To which the man said that he was only telling the truth, since people with a high level of magical power enter this academy, it is quite natural that he is worse since he does not have at least some magical power. I asked Sophia how could he, a teacher at a magic academy, insult him? Well, besides, they should stop this empty talk and start their own business. But then our hero began to think, because it seems that his speech at the entrance ceremony was for the cause of not only students but also teachers, you understand that these classes can cause some problems. But the man definitely began to say that as they know in magic, the spell has boundaries from 7 to the 1st rank. After all, until today, they used a low-level spell of the 7th to 4th rank. But now they will have to learn high-level spells from the 3rd to the 1st rank. Since most of the 1st rank spells were developed by the director of the Elsella Magic Academy Rollo Vistavam. Well, the 1st rank spell is the most difficult to learn, so he would like them all to be able to master at least the highest magic of the 3rd rank. But then the man said that, alas, but as far as he knows, in this class there are people who are not able to use even low-level spells. Thus, he again hinted towards our hero who simply sat and did not answer anything in response. Standing in front of the balls, the man realized that just a little of us, on some side, is both good and bad. Challenging everyone in turn to try to use magic on the balls. Since the attributes of water are suitable for healing spells and their side spells. The earth attribute attacking spell will be just right. Light attribute focus on learning support spells. And at that moment Sophia approached the balls. To which the teacher said loudly to the whole class that it seemed to him that there were a lot of mediocrities among the students this year. Since he was not surprised that in this situation, a guy without magical powers was able to take first place. But then Sophia raised her head and turned to the teacher, saying that she just wants him to know since Jan is many times stronger than her and him combined. As soon as the man heard this, apparently he was not very happy about it as anger filled him. But nevertheless, as soon as Sophia touched the balls a very strong sacredness began to appear from the balls. And everyone in the class thought it was great because this is the most amazing reaction. They say that she is the princess of the sword. To which our hero, I thought that this is what should have been expected from Sophia. Although he still thought that her talent lay in the ball and not in magic. Meanwhile, as soon as the man saw him, he immediately lost his words. But then he said that this is a very huge magical power. and also saying that it is amazing and she is a real talent. To which Sophia said that she thanked only Yana for the praise for such a volume of magical power, but nothing more. She immediately said that he was able to detect and correct a defect in her body in the blink of an eye. But then the man thought about it, since for a moment she corrected the defect inside her body. Obviously this is a lie, since the organ that produces magic is not so simple and no one could do something like that. To which the man then said that he was calling the next one. Kijin immediately began to head towards the balls. And the man immediately recognized her. They say that this girl is Yan's servant, thinking that she probably doesn't have any talent for magic either. But as soon as the girl approached the scar, she also asked our hero how much magical power should she put into the crystal ball? To which, in fact, our hero was surprised because he did not think that she had magical power, to which the girl replied that it was quite a bit. To which the guy, after thinking a little, said that he did not expect this and then advised her to release approximately the same volume as Sophia. And the man just wanted to hurt everyone who was connected with Ian. I asked the girl, what is it? Can she pour magical power into the crystal ball? But he also continued to say that it is not surprising since she is really Yang's servant. But as soon as the girl touched the ball, it began to shine just like Sophia's. Although if you think about it a little, it might be even brighter than Sophia's. To which the girl smiled because she was happy for this outcome of events. But of course the man couldn't believe his eyes that there was a video, so he immediately called the next one. And already at that moment I became our hero, heading towards the balls. But the man also thought that his goal in this study of magical powers was Yan, who does not control it at all. I think that now he will disgrace himself in front of everyone. Rolo was interested in him, but this is only a temporary interest, since soon he will show everyone what he really is. But then our hero began to think about what he should do. He has no magical power. So the result is obvious, but he wonders what will happen if he pours spiritual energy into this crystal ball? Which, in fact, is what he began to do. Touching the ball, he literally began to pour his spiritual energy into it. But then the man began to laugh, saying that there was no effect, and then they said that for sure, after all, he does not have any magical powers. Pointing his finger at our hero, he continued to talk about what would not hurt him from conducting classes. But then he asked how to justify himself and our hero. I began to think because the influence of energy had no effect. But while our hero was thinking about this, everyone turned their attention as the color of the crystal ball began to change. To which even the man turned around in surprise because he did not understand what was happening to the ball. After all, he saw the color of the attributes of darkness. Although he thought that he had never seen such a charcoal gem color. And our hero, I began to understand, it turns out that spiritual energy showed itself, but still he was interested if he added a little more. And literally within a couple of seconds of influence on the ball, it completely turned black. And then literally exploded into small pieces. Our hero did not understand anything at all. He also did not understand why this ball exploded. Everyone in the class was very shocked. After all, they didn't understand. How could he burst out asking our hero what he had done? To which our hero also asked for forgiveness. They say that he accidentally broke it. To which the teacher, of course, but he understood that it seems that the very foundation of the academy, not a single student had so much magical power that even the crystal ball could not withstand it. To which the man immediately said that he was going to get a new crystal ball. So they should sit here quietly and wait for him. Our hero immediately grabbed his head and asked everyone for forgiveness because he had caused everyone a lot of trouble. But who would have thought, since all of our classmates began to come up to ours and say that his incredible technique is something like that. Besides the fact that he took teacher Colin by surprise, it was nice to see him like that. But our hero himself did not fully understand why does everyone praise him so much. And Sophia also looked at the guy, thinking that she was very pleased to see that he was getting closer to the class. But then one of the students, sitting near the window, realized that he was next in line. But besides, the teachers are now in a bad mood because of Ian, thinking that he is very much in trouble. And meanwhile the teacher was already returning, thinking that it was very serious, since the crystal ball just burst from the savages who did not know magic, nothing but troubles. And as soon as the teacher entered the class, he immediately turned to Henry and said that now he could pour his magical power into the crystal, which of course was clear that the guy was very nervous, but still stood up and walked towards the balls. And as soon as he approached, he immediately tried to pour his magic into the ball. But then the teacher was surprised. They don't understand what it means to ask. Can he even try to do this? To which the guy only replied that this is all he is capable of. But then the teacher began to think, because he has been working as a teacher at this academy for 5 years, but this is the first time he sees such a narrow blow. To which the teacher immediately laughed, saying that he thought that in this class only Ian was mediocrity. And then the man asked Henry to at least try not to drag the whole class down with me. And everyone watching how Henry was leaving began to think about the fact that he looked so upset because you couldn't look at him without pity. But still, our hero, having heard the name Henry, began to think because teacher Colin ridiculed him for his low level of magical power. Realizing that he was able to pass the entrance exams due to his other talents. But in other words, he is an outstanding talent in a field not related to magic. But then the teacher abruptly said that since one of the Vandaless students broke the crystal ball, he was forced to finish their task. Saying that is all for today, but the next lesson will be practical. Since during practice they will have to get to the finish line through the forest on the north by monsters divided into pairs. But they will learn the details before the start of practice. In the meantime, they should find a partner, so they are free from the lesson. But then everyone began to whisper among themselves, saying that practically they hold classes every year, thinking that everyone wants to unite with someone stronger and more popular. Quite a lot of classmates immediately began to invite Sophia to team up with them, even from some side begging to become their partner, to which Sophia immediately answered everyone that she needed a little time to think about it. But after all, she understood that while she was surrounded by Odnoplasniki, she would not be able to invite Ian to join the team. And our hero understood that everyone decided to quickly find a partner. But then a girl turned to our hero and asked who he wants to team up with? But after thinking for just a second, our hero replied that he had one person in mind, but the girls were still interested and she assumed that it was Sophia? But our hero replied that no, he chose Henry, and the girl remembered who it was. And after a moment the guy began to leave the class, one of the very first. At which our hero looked and thought that he went to the exit from the class. I thought that this was a good opportunity for a conversation, to which the girl also agreed with our hero, saying that this was a really great idea. Meanwhile, the events moved to the dining room where Henry was sitting at the table eating, thinking that it was unlikely that anyone would want to team up with him after everyone found out about the scope of his magic. Thinking that it would be better for him not to come here at all than for everything to be like this. But unexpectedly for the guy, our hero came up and asked if he could sit at the same table with him. Speak immediately recognized the guy who wants to sit down with him, because it was Ian, saying that of course he can sit down. To which our hero immediately began to say that the apple pies in this dining room were simply amazing, because he always takes them when he comes here to eat, he said. He immediately agreed with this, but still he was wondering how he could help? To which our hero replied that he just wanted to chat with him because he thinks to some extent they are in the same boat. To which Henry replied that this is not at all true since he has his technique. But our hero answered that this is true. But that's where the difference between them ends. Speaking of the fact that both he and Henry have no talent for magic, in short, but not both were able to pass the entrance exams to the Magic Academy, one of the most difficult exams. But in other words, this is that their talent lies far from the area of using magic. Perhaps he is wrong? Well, Henry replied that this is true, since he was accepted into this academy for his deep knowledge of magic. But in this academy simple knowledge is not enough and you need to be strong enough. To which our hero, I replied that perhaps he is wrong in asking what exactly his knowledge of magic is. Well, the guy replied that he really loves making magic tools. Sometimes he even gets so carried away by it that he loses track of time doing this. Well, as soon as our hero heard about it, he told him that he was simply amazing. And the guy immediately smiled and said thank you very much for the compliment, because he entered this academy to hone his knowledge of making magical instruments, but everything turned out to be more complicated than he thought. To which our hero thought a little and said that it turns out that if he becomes a little stronger, he will be able to concentrate on his research, to which Henry replied that to some extent he is right, but it is easy to say, but much more difficult to do. And our hero suggested to Henry that they could go to his mansion after classes and could prepare together for a practical lesson next week. Henry, hearing this, was very surprised and asked if he was sure that our hero replied that of course he was sure, because if he wasn't sure, he wouldn't have offered. And also saying that Henry does not have a large supply of magical powers. And if this is so, then he just needs to work his own magic. But still Henry was surprised to hear about his own magic, asking if he could do it? To which our hero, I replied that of course he is very confident that he will succeed since he knows a lot about magic, and Henry immediately said thank you very much again because he is really happy about this and he will do everything he can. And after the lesson the event is transferred to our hero's mansion. And Henry was testing how much he could throw his magic at a target. And judging by the kind of magic that flew exactly to the target A without doing anything to it. Says he immediately told our hero that he couldn't do anything about it. But our hero thought about it, because he uses magic without reading the spell out loud. Said that he really does this because during the time he was making magical tools it developed by itself. Understanding the most important fact, in order not to cast spells at all, a person needs not only great knowledge in this area, but also precisely control the flow of magic inside the body. And this is quite very difficult because even in the academy there are hardly a dozen capable of this. Think about the fact that Henry's basic skills have enormous practical potential. Turning around, our hero immediately told the guy to shoot his spell this time and use the method that he would now tell him about. I didn't immediately understand what kind of method this was. Began to explain that before he shoots, he should imagine as if he were holding magic inside himself. Guy from the beginning he was surprised when our hero said that he should hold back the magic, thinking that wouldn't this only make the shot weaker? But I wanted to check this out for our hero, because he should just try it once. And says I think that he should imagine how he holds the magic, but apparently there was such a powerful force and what even Henry didn't expect, but a blue ball flew out towards the target. And the target was literally torn to pieces by such force. And the guy was very surprised, because he didn't understand how this was possible since the damage from magic had increased quite a lot. Well, the guy immediately began to say that he simply imagined how he held magic within himself, but they understood how this could even happen. And our hero explained that the fact is that in this way they simplified the process of casting the spell. But Henry still didn't understand, so he asked our hero to explain it to him in more detail and, of course, more clearly. After all, our hero assumed that in this world, for any type of spell, people use the same activation method. Yes, of course, there are speed spells, and some don't cast spells at all. But in its global essence, this is all the same method of activating a spell. And it was the same story with Henry, since if he does not build an activation method for the type of magic, he will only receive a weakened spell. Well, if you change the activation process, you will end up with a more powerful spell, spending much less magical power. And only now Henry began to understand what he meant when he said that they simplified the process. After all, knowing the intricacies of creating magical instruments and having a high level of control over the flow of magical forces in the body, nothing is impossible for Henry. So our hero thought that they should try this method. Henry was immediately delighted and said that this was very cool because he had never considered magic from such a point of view. Well, they also say that his innovative idea can radically change the structure of magic. To which our hero smiles and said that he, after all, owns onmagi, and not magic, a non-standard creature on which the foundations do not affect in any way. And with this number of cold glances his side will be significantly reduced by Henry. The guy was very grateful to our hero, saying that now with his help he can continue his studies at the academy. And our hero simply said that he brought the ideas and brought it to life, and it was his skill. And Henry also said that it seemed to him that entering the academy for the first time he was being praised, and this was a very pleasant feeling for him. But our hero also asked Henry if he already had a partner for practical training, to which the guy replied that he didn't have one yet. And as soon as our hero heard that he didn't yet have a partner for practical tasks, I offered to team up with him. But Gonorrhea said that he was only glad yes, but is Ian really confident in this since he could become a burden for him, To which our hero replied that here he is not telling the truth, since together they will go through this practical lesson better than anyone else and put it under their belt. Colin's teachers. Henry just laughed and said that he was really something. After all, only he could think of such thoughts. Well, our hero also said that he cannot just leave alone the fact that he is simply being made to look like a fool, since do not pay attention to this is not at all in his character. And Henry immediately replied that if everything suits him, then he will be very glad to team up with him. Our hero, I was so random that the guy still agreed to team up, telling him that they still decided to do it together. And after our hero, I shook Henry's hand, settling on the opinion that they would go through a practical lesson together. A week had already passed and the day had almost come for classes. All the students gathered near the forest looking at the teacher. To which the man immediately said that they could start the practical lesson right now. I mean that all of them, without exception, will move out of this place, and the task is to get to the top of the mountain, take the shining crystal from there and return with it. And everyone who does not return before sunset is automatically given a failure. Well, on the way to the top they will encounter all possible traps and monsters. The teacher immediately told all the students to be extremely careful with these monsters and traps. But now he said that he would announce the couples, and as soon as they heard their names they could immediately come forward. But then, looking at the piece of paper, the teacher was only surprised, saying that it looked like they had drawn a very interesting couple here, say the name of our hero and Henry. Saying that he didn't think that two losers would team up. Saying that perhaps they want a little sympathy for their own and can come forward first. But also asked that they not wander there for too long and not cause problems to the other students, saying that they should stay on the outskirts of the forest so as not to disturb anyone. To which our hero also laughed and said that I didn't understand, saying that thank you very much for the advice. And having already advanced, our hero, I told Henry to walk at a pace that was convenient for himself, and our hero would try to adapt to him, to which Henry replied that he would do everything. But still Henry was worried, thinking that everything should be fine since he had trained so much all last week. Henry also thought that he could no longer make him look like a fool. To which Henry immediately stood up and began to concentrate and hold the magic within himself for further acceleration in movement. And as soon as the guy opened his eyes, he literally burst from his spot with incredible speed, venturing deeper into the forest. Why is he our hero? I looked straight at him in the back and thought that it was a great job. Realizing that his control of magical power was simply incredible, and our hero was really happy for Henry that he succeeded. And in the meantime, as soon as the teacher saw Henry and our hero, I rushed straight into the forest. He was very surprised and shocked because he did not understand how they did it. In terms of the power of our hero, of course, I was also pleasantly surprised and very happy for Mr. Ian and Henry. Well, Sophia, of course, as soon as she saw the video of Henry running, she immediately thought, after all, he doesn't have enough magical power for such a powerful spell. Sophia also thought that I had something similar with her, thinking that Ian is a real pro in cultivating people's talents. But the man still didn't understand until now how they were able to do this? But still, he turned around and began to tell the students that before he announced the next pair, he would give them all one piece of advice. Speaking of the fact that there is a barrier installed in the forest that it is better for him not to go beyond, because there may be monsters waiting for them that they can handle all of them now. Saying that a battle with them could cost them their lives, saying that they should not go directly to the mountain, but go around the borders of the barrier. But then Sophia also started yelling at the teacher to wait a minute because shouldn't he have told them about this before Ian and Henry left? To which the man said that he really should have, but he remembered about it only now. They are saying that please, they should try not to forget about such important points anymore. To which the man said that of course he won't do that again, if next time he will definitely tell you about all the details in advance. And they also tell Sophia not to worry too much as these two will be disqualified before they have time to cross the boundaries of the dangerous zones. But Sophia was thinking about what she didn't understand. Why was such a person even hired as a teacher at the Elsella Academy? Thinking about the guys being as careful as possible. Meanwhile, our hero and Henry were already making their way into the depths of the forest. To which our hero told Henry that it was a very excellent job since his starting push was a great success.
To which Henry, of course, laughed and said that applying the magic formula to shoes was really worth it.
Since Henry applied a magical form to his school shoes and made a magical tool out of them, adding to this the body strengthening magic on top, he was able to make his body move at high speed. But still, our hero received permission to use shoes as magical tools so that they could not find fault with them. Remembering how he came to the director asking if they could make magical tools, and immediately received an answer from the director in the form of goodness that they could do it. Although it is not that this is prohibited, it was better to play it safe and get approval from the director. But still, our hero understood that now he does not have time to fly in the clouds since the most important thing is only ahead. Which Henry actually confirmed by saying that they needed to focus on the task. And then at some point Henry stopped and responded to our hero, telling him to stop immediately. Our hero stopped and turned around and asked Henry what happened. Why did he tell him to stop? Immediately threw a pebble forward where they were supposed to run. And as soon as the stone landed on the ground, magical actions immediately began to occur. And literally in an instant the earth literally collapsed from magic because it was a trap. Henry immediately said that he knew there had to be a trap there. But our hero, I immediately thanked Henry for saving him. Thinking that it was one of those traps that Colin's teacher said, but he still didn't notice it when he ran. But then suddenly Henry said something about today, he had been helping him all this time, so he was glad to also be useful in this test and help him see the trap and, most importantly, so that he would not fall into it. And Henry also said that he thought that the guy would cope with this even if he didn't say anything, to which our hero replied that this was not the case at all. To which our hero said that since there are traps here, they should slow down a little before they move forward, to which Henry replied that he also thinks that this is a very good idea. And over time they came across more and more traps. Well, we also fought off the attacks of various monsters along the way. Until at some point they reached the road to the top of the mountain. But then Henry saw magical barriers in front of him, to which our hero also thought that his assistant was saying something about him. Remembering that the girl said that, apparently, there are the strongest monsters behind the barrier, since the teacher explained this in detail to the students immediately after they left. He immediately said that there was a very creepy magical power there, suggesting that they bypass this barrier on the other side. To which our hero categorically said no, and then he immediately said that they should go straight as this is the shortest path. But the guy was shocked by this decision and shouted towards our hero, no, this could be very dangerous and would end badly for him. Henry also began to talk about how this could simply turn out to be a trap and they would get into it on purpose. To which our hero turned around and told Henry that everything was fine and he should trust him. Therefore, our hero, I also began to pass through the barriers and Henry just shouted to him to wait. And going inside, a very, very large tree of incredible size appeared in front of our hero. And Henry also told our hero that he could not get back through the barrier, and he began to understand that apparently it was impossible to leave the barrier in the same way as to enter it. But then a very large eye literally appeared from the tree. Henry immediately saw this eye and began pointing towards the tree, saying that it seemed to him that this tree was not just a tree, but a terrible monster. As a matter of fact, this was the case, after all. After the eye appeared, then another one appeared and the outlines of the mouth became visible. Of course, Henry was very frightened by such an outcome of events, but I am our hero. I just stared intently and didn't even twitch a single muscle of my face. I think that it was similar to a Treant, since judging by his magical power, he is much weaker than the Chimera with which he had already fought before the entrance exam. But Henry, looking at the monster, thought that this was a very terrible magic power. They needed to defeat him if they wanted to get out of here alive, since it was simply impossible. To which our hero who grabbed his sword, only said that Henry should leave it to the guy, saying that he already worked a lot while they got here and he himself will deal with this monster. And of course our hero, I went towards this terrible monster using my abilities and hidden fire skills. Our hero also immediately addressed the monster, saying that he would not allow any tree to get in their way. And literally in an instant our hero was able to cut the tree in half with one blow. Turning around, he addressed Henry that he could move on calmly. But Henry, looking at how our hero literally cut a tree in half in one blow, was very surprised, but still said that they really had to go. But after some time, our hero, together with Henry, were able to reach the top of the mountain where this very crystal was literally shining in front of them. They immediately understood perfectly well that they had really done it much earlier than everyone else. And approaching the crystal, the first thing they did was pick it up and just laugh. After all, they succeeded. And the teacher, meanwhile, stood with a watch and waited for the arrival of the first who could get the crystal. And as soon as he turned back into the depths of the forest, he would have been surprised because someone was already running from the exit towards the teacher. Having looked closely, the teacher thought that it was very fast, but he still did not understand who was running towards him. But as soon as our hero and Henry ran closer, the teacher immediately recognized them and he was apparently upset and didn't understand why, out of everyone, it was them. And our hero, I and Henry, as soon as P approached the teacher, they immediately said that they had brought crystals. Do they mean that they believe that they successfully completed this practical lesson? To which the man immediately said that he very much hoped that the two of them weren't cheating, because even if we take into account that they entered the forest with the very first ones, they managed too quickly. The man immediately began to think that they decided to bypass the barrier along the perimeter since he didn't specifically tell them anything about this, and yet they came up with the idea. But our hero, I said that since the shortest path lay through the Trent, they defeated him and went forward. The man heard that they had defeated Trent, he couldn't believe his ears and they were talking about what it was. It is absolutely impossible that they could defeat such a tall monster. To which even Henry began to say that in fact they managed to defeat the Trent solely thanks to Ian. Saying that he literally destroyed it with one blow, cutting it in half. To which the man immediately began to shout at them, telling them to carry it better, because it is simply impossible for such trash as him, no one will believe in something so frank. And our hero immediately said that wasn't he crystal and soon for whom they did everything not proof back? And the teacher immediately said that he was more than sure that they were just somehow cheating. But our hero still didn't understand why Simon, that both are good teachers, but is it really so difficult for a magician in this country to admit that there is no catch? To which our hero, I told the teacher that since he doubts them so much, why not personally verify the opposite? Since you can verify the words of our heroes very easily and simply. To which our hero also began to tell the teacher that if he wants, they can start first if victory goes to our hero. Then he would like the teacher to ask him to reconsider his arrogant behavior towards them. Henry immediately began to shout to our hero that this was a very bad idea. To which the man even began to say that it seems he underestimates him too much and why doesn't he knock all this confidence off you? Saying that as a teacher he is obliged to show careless students something like real magic. Using his power, he immediately launched a cyclone at our hero so that it would carry him away. To which, as soon as Henry saw this, he immediately realized that this was a high-level speed spell. It immediately literally enveloped our hero in a cyclone. And Henry immediately turned to the teacher saying that it was too much. But he just laughed because they said that it was his own fault for challenging him, because he can calm down since he calculated everything so that the boy would not die. To which she immediately said that they would attribute it to an injury received during a practical lesson, chuckling. But then, as soon as the foggy dust cleared, the outlines of our hero began to appear, who immediately said that there was no reason for worry. Our hero, of course, smiling, said that everything was fine with him and he was safe and sound. And also, our hero immediately used his skill, such as absolute shackles. To which the man was immediately literally enveloped in some kind of energy, saying that he could not move. I don't understand at all what he did. And our hero replied that he was just using the Onmito technique, which he despises so much all this time. To which our hero, I immediately said that now he should calm down now, because this time he will show what he is capable of without sparing his strength. But then suddenly listened to the voice that asked our hero to stop there for now, and our hero, I closed my eyes and only kindly said that he would, of course, stop. But then the director of the academy appeared, saying that he took it upon himself to observe the practical classes taking place this time. Henry, as soon as he saw the director's video, was very excited and shocked and did not understand what was happening around him. And meanwhile the teacher turned around looking at the director and asked what brought him here. To which the director replied that one of the sword class students reported to him the appropriate behavior of teacher Colin. To which the director replied that that was the only reason he decided to observe the practical lesson. But our hero, as soon as he heard what someone told him, immediately changed his mind, because he would have wanted to know about this even when he asked permission for magical instruments. But the director immediately said that they would discuss the details a little later, but now he would like to say only one thing. As of today, without delay, Teacher Colin has been fired and will no longer work at theirs. But then the man immediately began to turn to the director, asking him to wait, saying that this was all one big misunderstanding. Does he see this? But the director immediately began to talk about what kind of misunderstanding he did not inform his students of the attempt to expose them to danger. What should he call it? The teacher, of course, literally froze in one place and could not say anything. The director immediately told him that he should find a good excuse, since they would discuss the details with him in his office after the end of the practical lesson. And after all that was said, the director immediately began to dissolve. But apparently the teacher was very angry, saying that it all happened because of Ian. But like our hero, Ian Henry only said that only he was to blame for this and nothing more. But this time, the man was furious, telling him to shut up because he was already in his guts, and this time if he went to the bottom, that is, he would take our hero by. Using his explosive tornado, he only wanted the guys to get torn apart. But our hero, I only said the only thing that he still hasn't understood the difference in their powers, and he believes he has no choice, that's all? To which our hero, I immediately used my abilities such as Wild Spiral Fire, which immediately envelopes the man in flames. He could easily throw it away from him. And then, flying up to the teacher, he turned to him with the question, did he now understand the difference in their strengths? Speaking of the fact that this is the Onmito technique. And in the meantime, Sophia and Kijin were already descending from the mountain, saying that they were able to do it, and there was nothing left until they returned to the academy. And Sophia also said that it was thanks to Kinji that she was able to complete the practical lesson without any problems. I thanked the girl for agreeing to team up with her. Kinji immediately said that she, on the contrary, should thank her because she had a great time together with Mrs. Sophia. Sophia, of course, was immensely happy and glad to hear this from the girl. Kinji also asked Sophia why she chose her as her partner. Kinji also noticed that practically their entire class wanted to team up with her, but for some reason she chose her. And Sophia immediately replied that she just wanted to make friends with her. Well, Sophia also understood in her thoughts that it was still a little about Yen, since she could give her some advice about him. Kinji, as soon as I heard about the fact that I really wanted to make friends with her, immediately told her thank you for being so interested in her. But then Sophia began to think. After all, they never found the barrier that the teacher spoke about. Thinking that maybe he could have lied to them just to intimidate the students. And in the meantime the girls returned to the clearing where they started. And our hero and Henry immediately greeted them, saying that they were glad to see them. To which the girls noticed that they still returned the very first. But besides, the guys said that they started first, so it was not surprising that they returned earlier. But Sophia immediately said that this was still an amazing result, but by the way, she immediately asked where the teachers are? And our hero turned around and pointed with his finger and said that he was standing there. To which Sophia immediately said that they would go to the teacher to report on their return. But as soon as Sophia, together with Kinji, approached the teacher, Sophia was immediately surprised because they saw that something was happening wrong. Because at some point, he kept himself completely in his head, only telling her that his career was over and she would no longer exist. Really don't understand what's going on with the teacher. To which our hero replied that quite recently the director of the academy was here and he fired the teacher. To which, apparently, the girl was very happy and also surprised. The girls immediately began to laugh and the teacher was so upset that he literally cried upon returning from the students. But of course, by the end of that same day the teacher officially left the academy. Well, as expected, many students began to discuss the topic of the fact that the teacher was fired. But besides, they said that he taught lousy anyway and he was too domineering. But his dismissal even made their souls feel better. Although there was a bad reputation about him among the students, it is not surprising that there was not a single person who would feel sorry for him. Kinji also noted that these practical lessons turned out to be very fruitful, since he not only became friends with Henry, but he also managed to get rid of this disgruntled teacher. So our hero smiles and said that both are true. Well, besides, he will not forget that this situation allowed Henry to earn recognition from Odnoplasniki. Well, also speaking of the fact that Kinji seems to have become friends a little with Sophia. To which the girl said that they even agreed to have lunch together next time, and our hero was pleasantly surprised because he thought it was wonderful. But then one of the assistants turned to our hero saying that they would soon arrive in the village of Kerbet in their new lands. To which our hero, I was glad to hear this. Well, besides, our hero was wondering if this bunch had time to make friends with the residents of Kerbet? Since after a while our hero, I stopped by the city. And in front of our hero a man is transferred who introduced himself and said that he is the headman of the village and he is glad to meet our hero, and he also welcomes him to their village of Kerbota. To which our hero also introduced himself and said that he was very glad to meet you, saying that he was grateful to them for such a warm welcome. But our hero was also interested in whether the people he sent to them had successfully reached them, because the man replied that of course they were already here. And our hero thought about it, because it was very good, and it seems that the situation for him is much better than he expected. So our hero asked the man to take him to them. Which is exactly what the man did. He led our hero along. I said that they were here, and our hero, I was curious. Why did they stop in such a mansion? To which the man replied that the fact is that Mr. Tuda and his comrades, the owners of this village, are quite natural to provide them with the best. And at this time Tuda, sitting on the sofa, saw the door open and our hero began to enter. He already greeted him. I asked how life was. Why did our hero just say the first thing that it seems to him, or has he become even more daring? To which the guy answered me that now he is great and famous in these districts. An assistant also approached our hero, saying that this was not at all true. After all, since they arrived in the village of Kerbet, Toad never spoke to any of the locals, and all he did was fight with the monsters that were around. Although the guy thought that this was only for the better. But the end result was that he saved the village, which had been under the wrath of monsters for many years, and Tuda began to be treated as a savior. The guy immediately turned to our hero, saying that he was ordered to establish contact with the villagers and make friends with them, even though they achieved this. But at the same time, Tuda's self-esteem rose, saying that he almost didn't listen to them before, but now he has done. To which, in fact, our hero smiled and said that the essence of the story had reached him. And also saying that he expected a little less from them, and so this is a good result, because the villagers almost revere them. So in the future they will be happy to help them. But then our hero, looking at the guy, said that he had a way to make Tuda obey him, and it would be pretty quick. Our hero turned to the guy with a smile and just said if he wanted to fight him. And of course the guy, was not going to wait. He immediately rushed into the attack. But our hero, I was easily able to stop him. To which the guy just said that he had finally decided to do it all. But apparently our hero had it easy because he was definitely determined to make the guy dry. And after some time, our hero and the guy stood on the rocks in the middle of the river. And also our hero's assistants were sitting on a tree watching the fight. I reasoned that they were wondering how the gentleman found such a good place. Not everyone was sure, but most likely with the help of his Onmito technique. Since the master could always find a use for his technique in any matter. Moreover, he is the strongest and greatest Onmaji. Our hero, looking at his opponent, only said that they had not fought with him for a long time, and it brought back memories of past battles. But the guy also said that he had been waiting for this moment for a long time, because this time he would definitely destroy him. And literally in an instant the guy was behind our hero's back quite quickly. He immediately struck our hero X, although it didn't really help him. He was still quite fast because after the first attack he was able to instantly find himself behind our hero for the second time. But the guy did not decide to stop attacking our hero, which, in fact, he did not do over and over again. And at some point our hero managed to literally fly within a short distance of the guy. But, in fact, he also took off and tried to strike with his hand towards our hero. although he failed because his shot was blocked. And the guy understood perfectly well that Yang was able to easily block his attack, and this only made him want to destroy him more. Toru immediately decided to launch a wild flame attack towards our hero, saying that one technique would be enough for him to block his blow. Toru, looking at our hero, used the eyes of the Snake King. Since the eyes of the Snake King, his second greedy skill allows him to immobilize anyone he looks at, indicating that this time nothing will help the master. Since after he immobilized our hero, he immediately tried to strike with a fiery blow. And literally at some point the boy thought that victory would be his only. But who would have thought that our hero, I would be unharmed, and in a second I would be behind the guy's back. Saying that this is just a pity, since if he fought with him after his rebirth, only then would he be able to win. The guy from behind, causing him to literally rush down straight into the water. But in fact, with quite a lot of force, he flew into the small river near which they were fighting. But our hero wasn't going to stop there and held out his hand looking at the guy slash. He immediately used the crossbow shower technique and shot straight at the guy slash. But the blow landed very close to the guy's head and he didn't understand what had just happened slash. And already at the moment of literally a waterfall, water poured out of the hole that our hero made slash. And the assistants who watched all this only began to be surprised, thinking that perhaps this was a hot spring slash. Toru, he just lay in this water and the only thing he could say was that he was hot. And also the guys who were watching began to rejoice, saying that the gentleman won, it was quite an easy victory for him. Realizing that every day the master is getting closer to his original strength, but this also applies to them. To which our hero immediately approached the guy and said that he tried very hard, because he barely managed to win. To which when our hero extended his hand, the guy knocked it back and said that this time he lost, but next time he will definitely destroy him. To which, in fact, the guy stood up and silently began to walk in the other direction from our hero. And our hero noticed that Toru is not changing at all, but for a while he will become obedient. Right away, as soon as the guys ran up to our hero, they said that he had defeated the guy and found a hot spring. To which the guy immediately began to wonder if the gentleman had really chosen this place for a fight. To which our hero, I didn't let him say anything, replied that on the whole he was right, and everyone, of course, was surprised by this because a hot spring near this village was discovered by Kiji and Taima, who could not come with our hero. And now the guy understood why he suddenly used his technique to study the surrounding area. To which our hero, I said that the key with burning springs will lead a lot of tourists to them, as people from all over the kingdom will want to visit the Kerbet village. The guys immediately thought that it sounded very funny, saying that our hero does not think at all like a petty nobleman and this is as always. Well, what about our hero? I said that this is great. And now shouldn't we all work together to develop the local tourist area? They immediately shouted with joy that of course he would only be happy about this and followed our hero. Since the first step in the development of the village was the construction of a bathhouse, since if everything works out, this place will become a tourist area. They started with very little and later expanded the bath complex based on the number of tourists. Well, the city residents also showed great interest in the construction, mainly thanks to Toru and the others who established contact with them. Kijin, immediately turning to our hero said that she was asked to convey that the bathhouse would be completed by the end of the day. But at some point our hero literally froze looking at one point. And then turning around she answered that the construction was going smoothly, but the girl noticed that there was something wrong with our hero, so she asked, maybe something happened? To which our hero said that he needed to go on one errand and this was a complete routine, saying that he would return by night. And just a few minutes later our hero approached the mines of Kurt. And at that time someone was walking through the tunnels of the mine into the depths. This man literally began to use magic, talking about the spirits sleeping in the darkness so that they would grant him the source of their power. But he still had no idea that our hero was already behind him. Why did our hero, in fact, say that something was sealed in these mines when asking the guy? But having heard no answer, he only asked B if he would continue to remain silent or would he still say something. To which the guy just said hellfire, consume his enemies using a fiery explosion. But as soon as the fiery explosions began to reach our hero, he immediately used his technique. And in an instant he found himself behind the guy, saying that they will allow him to be numerous on his lands. Using his power, he immediately turned off his opponent's consciousness. As soon as he lost consciousness, our hero came closer and realized that the face was unfamiliar to him, but he did not understand who was this guy who was trying to free the dark forces. And our hero began to think about maybe telling Tank to explore these guys' minds a little later, give it to the capital S Knights, and let them figure it out for themselves. But still our hero. I glanced at the seal that was left after the guy. And literally within a few minutes our hero, I was approaching the bathhouse where all the assistants were waiting for him, rejoicing that he had returned. To which our hero was immediately confused and did not understand what they were doing. Kijin immediately said that it was clear that it was already ready and they were waiting for our hero so that he could be the very first to test it. And now our hero, I began to understand what was going on and why they stood here. But then the girl immediately said that the gentleman must quickly enter this bathhouse and after him she would immediately enter. Kijin immediately asked me to show a little something like this. To which our hero said that she was right in some ways, because it would be better if they tried everything together, since he would be very bored there. And literally after some time, everyone immediately began to plunge into the hot springs. In one half there was a men's part, where only guys rested, and they say that hot springs are the best at relaxing. And in the other part there was a women's half where the girls were also happy, saying that this was their first trip to the hot springs. But before the girl had time to enter the water, she immediately slipped and fell. Kijin immediately said that Dayan is probably too energetic. Kijin immediately began to slowly enter the hot springs and sit down. And then the girl closed her eyes and began to think that hot water was very relaxing. But before she had time to enjoy the gorgeous moment there, a wave immediately rose from the fact that the girl literally jumped like a bomb into these sources. But then the guys noticed that Tuta was just lying on the roof of the building, so they immediately responded to him, asking if he was going to join them? To which the only guy said that they should leave him alone. After all, it seems that he still has not recovered from his defeat, sir. Meanwhile, Kijin responded our hero. To which he asked what happened. And the girl said that she was interested in knowing how Mr. got some water, to which our hero replied that's great. But the girl also continued to speak and addressed our hero about the fact that he had changed a little. Our hero thought a little because he didn't understand what exactly he had changed, to which the girl said that he seemed to have become much calmer than in white times. To which our hero replied that this is not so. After all, he was always calm, they say that he has such a character, to which the girl laughed and answered that both were true. To which the girl thought about the fact that it seemed the gentleman had not yet noticed. After all, thanks to the influence of Mrs. Sophia and Henry, he began to change a little. And she thought at this rate there would be no fear that someone would want to get rid of him. Although that is not even true, it is more likely that the girl is just glad that our hero has friends who value him so much and go hand in hand with him. But the very next day Kijin ran into our hero's office, saying that they had a problem. Our hero did not immediately understand, so he asked the girl what happened. Kijin immediately said that the wizard whom our hero I caught yesterday and died. To which our hero, lowering her cup, said the only thing is that nothing can be done about it and he would like to examine the body. And when going to that same wizard, our hero noticed clear traces of dark magic, because it seems that this was what destroyed the spell. And also looking at his chest one could see a magical coat of arms. Magical coat of arms drawing securing the effect of a magic contract. To activate it, you need to conclude a contract and fulfill certain conditions. Our hero immediately realized that the coat of arms had already been activated. This meant that he was gagged and maybe he was a member of some organization. After all, in the end, he never found out his real goal and this infuriated our hero. To which our hero immediately ordered them to go to Kurt's mines since he needed to explore them. Bayako immediately turned to our hero with a request to allow him to go with him, and to which our hero replied that he had nothing against it. And after some time our hero, together with his assistants, entered the tunnel, moving afoot to the place where the wizard was caught. And having reached the right place, our hero said that it was here that he read the liberation spell. They should assume that someone sealed it here. The question was what the attackers wanted to achieve. Thinking that he could remove the seal. But besides, isn't it too dangerous? After all, this is exactly what Mach was trying to achieve. Our hero understood that thinking alone could not solve the problem, especially since in his current state he would be able to cope with any unresolved situation. The guys also said that they were of the same opinion. Therefore, our hero, I immediately decided to break the seal. Understanding that any spell has its weaknesses, if you hit this place with spiritual energy, the spell will dissipate. And in other words, the seal can be broken not only by magic, releasing it, but also by the technique that our hero uses. And literally with one blow our hero, I was able to break the seal. They looked carefully to see who would come out to them from inside. But then a monster appeared literally from the depths and began to fly out, and our hero, looking closely, began to immediately understand who it was. After all, it was a salamander sealed inside a seal. Ayako immediately asked our hero to allow him to deal with this because our hero, I told him that he relied on him. But also the only one he asked that he not destroy him. After all, he needs him for research, which, in fact, the guy told me that of course he would do it. And at that moment the salamander immediately began to release fire around itself. To which our hero, I understood that it was getting hot here and the situation was becoming unprofitable for the guy. But the guy was still very fiercely determined to defeat this monster using his powers. Although at some point the monster began to resist and hit the guy. To which the guy, taking off, said that he couldn't defeat him with simple fire and brute force. Therefore, the guy is immediately on top of the monster in one attack. And our hero understood that the guy coped with it very quickly and he was great. Since he was one of the strongest of the 12 generals, which is actually our hero. I asked if he was feeling well. To which the guy did not answer that everything was fine. And our hero, approaching the monster, I began to understand that now it was time for them to explore the salamander. But at some point there was an explosion from which our hero was shocked because he did not understand what was happening. Since our hero did not understand what kind of smoke it was and what had just happened. But as soon as it dissipated, this monster appeared in front of our hero, but it was much smaller than before. No one, of course, understood how it happened that he shrank, but the girl also said that he looked so cute. To which the monster immediately asked that he not be destroyed please. Our hero was even more surprised. Apparently he had never met talking monsters without understanding what the hell they were. To which the kid said that he was a spirit and not a monster. To which our hero, picking up the baby, immediately asked, "Can spirits speak?" To which I immediately received the answer that, after all, they are directly related to the human race. But then our hero didn't exactly understand why he attacked them immediately after they freed him? To which the kid replied that he was a little out of sorts after waking up and our hero understood that it seemed he had no other choice but to believe him. To which the girl asked our hero if he was sure of this, and he received the answer that, to some extent, it was his own fault that he had removed the seal and woke him up. Saying that since they finished with this part, he still has many questions for him, to which you can immediately kindly agree to tell everything. And already over time, our hero found out a lot by listening to the history of the spirit since he is a spirit of fire named Salamander due to a long sleep. He practically does not remember anything from his past life, but he remembers that he was one of the 4 great spirits of the elements fire, water, earth, and air. And also before he was sealed, something happened to all 4 spirits. But what exactly he doesn't remember, to which our hero I said that he didn't give him any useful information and the kid immediately asked for forgiveness. Kijin, he was also curious if he was lying to him, to which our hero replied that he didn't think so since there was a high probability that it was true. I began to think because this guy is one of the 4 great spirits of the elements, and that means he is not the only one like me. So he immediately asked the kid about the other spirits, were they sealed just like him? To which the spirit immediately said that he did not know and Bayako immediately said that this was a useless lizard, but the spirit immediately asked for forgiveness. But he also said that he could find out the location of other spirits. And our hero was already curious about this, so he asked the kid how he would do it. After all, each of the spirits is given the power to control one of the 4 elements, and they feel each other's presence even if they are in different parts of the world. To which our hero immediately replied that then they will be able to find out what happened to them if they go, which he feels at the same time, and will find out what these magics are up to, and it was a very good idea under the weather girl. To which the spirit understood that this was a very great opportunity, and our hero. I said that now they have a personal appearance. To which the spirit immediately said that he was still not some kind of demon. But our hero said that as soon as they finish with this problem, he will take care of him. Speaking of the fact that he was sealed for a long time and everyone he knew most likely had already died. That's why he wants to take him under his wing. Speaking only if he, of course, does not want it himself. And the spirit immediately shouted what he wanted thanks to him. After all, he was already beginning to worry about what he should do in this world with absolutely no memories. And the spirit also asked to receive 5 meals a day and a quiet place to sleep. To which our hero, I immediately thought that he hoped that this spirit would still be useful to them. Meanwhile, events moved to the Magic Academy. Where our hero is sitting, sipping tea. I said that this is how it all happened, that's why he doesn't want to take a short leave from the academy. To which the director immediately began to think, because the mysterious magician, sealed elemental spirits, is quite an interesting story, and he would not be the director of the academy and would immediately join his investigation. To which our hero also asked the director if he would do something in order to go with him. And to which the director immediately said that no, he was just joking. But still he had to say since he knows how to get into trouble, to which our hero, I immediately said that he was born under such a star. The director immediately said that it was very well said and he hopes to hear an interesting story from him when he comes to visit him again. To which our hero said that of course he would come, but perhaps he already needs to leave. But as soon as our hero closed the door, he suddenly heard a voice. It was Sophia who immediately greeted our hero. Did he discuss something with the director of the academy? But our hero also greeted Sophia and said that he just gave the director permission to go on vacation. But that the girl also asked if he was sick or if something happened. To which our hero replied that an urgent matter had arisen and he would have to travel. To which Sophia immediately asked how long he had been leaving, to which our hero said that it was very difficult for him to answer this question. But then Sophia sharply asked if she could go with him. This, of course, amazed our hero a little. But the girl also asked for forgiveness. They say that she was asking so suddenly, he just always helped her out, and she thought that if she could help him with something. To which our hero immediately said that he was glad for her help, but as he already said, he doesn't know how long this will all drag on, her grades at the academy may drop significantly. But what Sophia said was that it's okay because she thinks that on a journey with Ian, she will learn much more than sitting within the walls of the academy. What does our hero look like in what Sophia is really determined to do? The only thing he said is that he relies on her help. And within a few seconds someone knocked on the director's office and turned around. And he immediately asked what was it. It was our hero together with Sophia, who he immediately said that Sophia was going on a trip with her, so he would like to ask the director to give her temporary leave. The director also smiled when he saw Sophia and said that our hero was lucky with the lady of his heart. To which our hero, I said that everything is not at all as it seems to the director. To which, already after the time in the office, our hero thought that there was something wrong with this director. Sophia immediately decided to be curious because she wanted him to enlighten her where they were going. And their first destination is Narita Port City. Since our hero assumed that the spirit of water should have been right here, after all, how would all this turn out, I just thought. Meanwhile, our hero, together with Sophia, went out into the street where Kidson was waiting, right next to the carriage. The girl was immediately surprised as soon as she saw the gentleman with Sophia. To which our hero, I said that Sophia T is also going with them. And Sophia immediately said that she was very happy with Kidson's company, that, in fact, the girl was mutually happy too. But then suddenly the spirit also said hello, saying that he was the salamander, the spirit of fire, and he would be at their home.
Sophia, of course, as soon as she saw the spirit, she was immediately shocked and said that it was a talking monster.
What our hero forgot to tell everyone, Sophia, is that their goal will be a little non-standard. And many of the assistants were surprised to see the spirit of fire, and the girl only said that she was confident that if it was fried it would turn out very tasty. To which our hero also asked them all to stop because there are many things much tastier than a lizard, and the girl says that she sometimes did not understand the gentleman. But having gathered in the room, our hero said that in any case, today he gathered them because the fiery spirit will contact his brothers.
But the guy also didn't understand how he would find out where they were and should they even start searching?
To which our hero replied that there is only one way he can do it. That in fact you can, and began to do concentrated aura began to come out of him. Meanwhile, the spirit released 3 fireballs, indicating that these fiery spirits are imbued with his power and they will lead him to other spirits. To which our hero began to say that the essence is that they will be divided into 3 groups and each will follow their spirit.
Our hero, together with Kijin and Salamander, will go to Narheda with a clockwork spirit. Suzaku and Dayan go to the mountain for the spirit of the earth. Now, Tuda and Bayako head into the forest to Yuval for the wind spirit.
Toad immediately began to say why he is great, to which our hero interrupted and said that he was counting on him. But they were also wondering if the spirits were sealed as well as the spirit of fire, then what should they do in this situation?
To which our hero said that they must remove the seal to calm the spirit and deliver it to him safe and sound.
And as soon as our hero gave everyone orders, he thought it was great because now they can hit the road. And already inside the carriage, Sophia recognized the spirit of fire, realizing that he was not a monster but a spirit. Sophia also said that such a kind creature was sealed. She was wondering what the reason was. And what did our hero say that now he looks kind, but who knows what he did before? To which the kid also said that he didn't do anything. They say that Mr. Strange jokes. To which our hero, I said that he doesn't remember anything at all, and Sophia also added that perhaps he attacked him as soon as he removed the seal. To which our hero asked if this was true, how was he not afraid to attack him with such a small body? To which the kid immediately said that he would no longer attack anyone, asking for forgiveness. To which our hero said okay, after all, he already said it doesn't matter whether he is good or not, since he won't leave him, since he removed the seal. And Sophia K just looked at the baby and realized that it was immediately obvious that he was very happy. And also our hero said that he was already used to dealing with problem children. Which, in fact, surprised Sophia a little because she didn't understand what problems we were talking about. Meanwhile, our hero's assistants were already driving like a ball of fire, or one of the guys was joking with the other whether he had caught a cold. Tudo, who is so brave to say. Meanwhile, it was already starting to get dark, so they decided to stay at a hotel in a small town that came along their way. Since the journey to an unspecified currency raid takes 4 days by carriage. Fortunately, their road lies through several such towns and our hero could not worry about the jelly. To which Sophia also said that it was her first time with friends during the trip, so it was very unusual for her. But then she said that they had a very important journey and she would try to be as useful as possible to our hero. To which our hero, I told her not to worry so much, because this is also the first time for him. But Sophia also asked Kijin, what about her? To something he immediately replied that it was the same thing, because she was glad that Mrs. Sophia was able to join them, because a joint dinner had been her old dream. Sophia, of course, was happy about this, smiling a little, she thanked the guys for this opportunity. But while our hero was talking with the girls, suddenly one of the guys came into the cafe. He immediately sat down not far from the next table from our hero, immediately ordering the waiter to bring whatever food he had, to which he kindly immediately agreed. But that everyone immediately began to talk about the fact that the mayor's son came here again and behaves as if he is the most important person here and he irritates them very much. To which our hero just thought that this type of people is everywhere. Turned to Sophia and Kijin, telling them that the guy who was sitting next to them was still a bore and they could have a bite to eat with him. To which our hero could only think, why does he always get involved in this? Kijin immediately looked at the guy with a very angry look. Why is he? I literally immediately got scared, I thought that he should be calmer because he couldn't lose to her. Approaching, he immediately said, "What kind of look is that? Does she know who he is? I imagine that he is the son of the mayor." But then Sophia sharply said that if this was the case, he should quickly change his tone. But the boy immediately laughed and asked why should he lower his tone. But then Sophia, taking out her knife, asked whether this coat of arms was familiar to him or not. And as soon as she put down the knife with the embossed coat of arms on it, the guy began to think he had already seen it somewhere. To which our hero only said that she was the eldest daughter of the Norbert house. I was very shocked because he understood that this was the same me from a family of greats. You rarely meet people who literally run away easier at such speed. To which Sophia did not understand why he would suddenly run away so abruptly, to which our hero said that everything turned out extremely well. And after 3 days our hero arrived in the port city, to which Sophia immediately asked, "Is it true that they can find the spirit of water here?" To which our hero also asked the spirit if he felt something, and he immediately indicated that the trace came from there. So, looking at the river, our hero asked, "L and the spirit are somewhere here." Although in general, they still don't have any other options. And they should go check it out, since it won't hurt. And having already climbed to the top of the rock, they saw that there was a stone statue on it. Coming closer, they saw that this was a statue of the goddess of the sea in different regions, their battles, so there were already quite a few of them all over the world. And she is one of these local gods, and according to legend she rules the sea itself. To which Sophia immediately said that there was no point in chewing on Yana, since everyone should know such a banal thing. To which our hero only said that repetition would not hurt. Looking at the statue, he understood that these people had not looked after this place for a long time and it was simply problematic to get here. To which Sophia also said that apparently not many are ready to spend their time praying to the goddess under such conditions. But our hero noticed that they built such a beautiful statue in too difficult a place. And then they thought that perhaps the spirit of water was sealed in the sea, and it sounded quite logical. But all this time our hero was haunted by the fact that he felt the presence of someone else here. Since a weak magical trace emanates from this goddess, after all, some kind of spell was cast on her. That, in fact, our hero decided to do this to check what was there. But as soon as he touched it, he didn't understand what kind of glow was blinding his eyes because it was very, very bright. And then suddenly the girl who was depicted on the statue literally appeared in front of our hero. She immediately turned to our hero saying that she was pleased to meet him. To which our hero immediately asked, who was she? He didn't understand. Besides, where he ended up. To which she immediately replied that she was a siren, the goddess of the sea. In this place she could appear to him in her physical form. To which our hero, I asked her to wait a little because she says that she is the goddess of the sea, a siren. Although, on the same side, he began to understand, if he thought about it a little, that she really did look somewhat like that statue, to which she, in turn, asked whether this meant that he believed her, to which our hero replied that let us assume that yes. I ask her that since she is already a goddess, shouldn't he address her more submissively, to which she replied that there is no need to talk like that, because he can speak as he pleases. But our hero was also interested in what the god of the sea needed from him, because his admirers definitely couldn't name her. 2 souls from different worlds in his body, but also uses something radically opposite to magic. What is he like, our hero? I said that it looks like she knows everything about him. And yet, for what purpose did she bring him here? And the goddess immediately said that there was no particular goal because she only wanted to get to know him personally. And they also say that he is destined for a very important mission and she hopes that this is not their last meeting. To which our hero was surprised, because he did not understand what an important mission this was and what it represented itself as. But the goddess could not tell him about this yet, because this is only to know. To which our hero immediately said that it looks like he has no choice. Our hero immediately began to think about an important mission because he didn't know what was coming, but he tried to overcome any obstacle. The goddess also said that this was not part of the greeting, but she decided to grant him the power to activate the enchantment placed on the statue, and this would also help him in his search for his original goal. To which I thanked our hero for his help. They say that he is a complete zero in magic. But the goddess also told our hero that after removing the enchantment, her power would leave him. Well, now it is time for them to say goodbye. They say our hero is worthy of a meeting. To which he reciprocated by saying goodbye to the goddess. But at that moment, Sophia immediately began to ask what was wrong with our hero, whether he was okay. To which our hero, I said that everything was fine and nothing bad had happened, but it is time for them to get started. And as soon as our hero touched the statue again, something began to happen. And they literally disappeared in an instant, having failed. But the place where they ended up was incredibly beautiful because they were very deep at the bottom, going into some room. To which our hero thought what an incredible spell this is. But the girls did not understand what kind of place this was and where they were, thinking that perhaps they had been moved, and it seemed that the spell cast on the statue had worked. Sophia also thinks that if the spell could be activated so easily, then why wasn't this done earlier? To which our hero replied that he launched the spell using the technique he uses. To which Sophia just tried to start a conversation. Our hero answered correctly, but they will talk more about this on the way home, because he hopes she will still be there. After all, it looks like this is some kind of temple built right at the bottom of the sea, and most likely this is the place where Salamander smells the spirit of water. To which our hero, I immediately said that this is true, because he also said that the spirit is somewhere in the sea. And what the kid said, but the spirit of water is very close. And that was great. And that meant that they should go forward. To which our hero thought that they would finally meet the spirit of water, and he hoped he could give him the answer to his questions. But while our hero was walking along the corridors to the statue, some guy began to approach. He immediately laughed. They say that a spell was cast on this statue after all. And also saying why doesn't he get to work quickly?